established.
Mute. You're on mute. Unmute your mic.
Oh, how about that? And I'm Mr. B.
It works every, it works every time.
Wait, we're live. Hey, I'm Mr. B from Truth Seekers, and g'day. And it's a beautiful day here in Perth, Western Australia. The birds are singing. Hey, what else could I say? And the sun is shining. And it's like everything else, you know, when you're live, you're live. And as they say, shit happens when you least expect it.
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful day here today as well.
How are you, Jim?
I think it hit 80 degrees, but
Very
it's
nice.
But the wind is just howling. We're talking about 30 to 40 mile an hour winds all day.
Oh, that would drive me crazy. That really would. That would. Don't like winds.
Skylar, our rescue German Shepherd, she can't deal with it. I mean, she just goes crazy. And
do you get a lot of tumbleweed where you are?
No.
You're lucky.
We're actually surrounded by 4 mountain ranges.
Right
up front. The front of the house faces the Catalinas. The back of the house faces the Tortolitas, and then to the south we have the Rincons, and to the southwest we have the Tucson Mountains. So we're pretty much surrounded.
And welcome, Mr. Bauer. How are you today, Professor?
How you going, mate?
All right, sport.
Yeah, he has a new speech impediment. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've always got one. My bloody dentures. Keep them up there, mate. Keep them up.
Well, I was listening to Jim talk about the beautiful weather there, and I have to echo that. We were 70 here. We've got the winds. Everything that Jim gets, he throws up here. We get the bottom end of it, and it makes a big mess on its way out. Kind of like Jim.
Yeah. Actually, we are starting to get the cooler weather here now. The 40 degrees and 42 degrees Celsius is gone now. So as we cruise into, we're in autumn now. So winter's coming next. It gets bloody cold here. It gets down to about 8 degrees, 9 degrees Celsius. We don't freeze here, man. It's blue sky 96% of the year. So we're very lucky. Very lucky.
Yeah.
Well, now begins the season of everybody going, do you know how nice it was today? For the last 3 or 4 months, it's been, will this shit stop? Where is this coming from? It keeps getting in our way, messing everything up. And now is the season of the good weather reports and the people enjoying the wonderfulness from what was to what is. And that's just awesome. I mean, my peach tree has started to bloom. My cherry blossom is out in the front, is blooming. And I had to take some close-up shots of the blooms. They were just gorgeous. And I said, that is what the seasons with the things coming up and coming alive and springing into action and growing and doing their thing. That's just an awesome thing to see. And it's interesting how we only get a short period of, we get a good 6 months or even more, depending on where you live.
One of the things I loved about Hawaii, you could take a piece of kiln dried wood, you throw it on the ground, and about 2 weeks later, there's a sprout coming up on it.
Everything grows. Everything grows. Yeah, I can imagine it. Yeah. Anyway, guys, hey, we're going to start getting into some nitty gritty stuff today. I hope. I mean, again, somebody, I won't say who, but somebody told me I'm pussyfooting around. I've got to start speaking the truth and then start speaking out. And I'm not going to say who this person is. I mean. But yes, that person is right, what they say, because I can't say I don't want to offend people, but when I talk about Luis Elizondo and I say he's a very nice guy, well, he's probably a friggin' wanker because he's bullshitting us all the way. He's leading us all the way to the bloody how would you put it? To Neverland or something like out of a Walt Disney movie. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if the seven dwarves are going to come out at the Congress. You know what I mean? We're getting all these fairy tales coming, and promises, but never happens. What's actually happening is I call it with a capital BS. It's all a capital BS. BS here to your right, and we got extra BS to the left. And we're just being fed BS. And between Luis Elizondo, David Grush, and of course, our good friend not our friend, but Mr. Core Doorbell, which is feeding us with a load of shit, taking a lot of credit, kissing bloody what's his name?
I said, this is awesome. I mean, you just kind of, it's like you grabbed the ball and you wound up and you are throwing some curveballs and some fastballs, and it's awesome.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy going in bloody Las Vegas that runs the show there? Bloody.
What's his name? George Knapp?
Yeah, George Knapp. That's all Corbell's doing is kissing his ass all the way, all the way to the studio. What is he getting out of it? I hope he's getting some bloody turds on the table, honestly, because he's not giving it to us. And how can you call a UFO a friggin' jellyfish? And it doesn't look like a friggin' jellyfish. It looks like a balloon with lots of tin cans on it. Let's face it. He calls it a freaking jellyfish. This guy's got some imagination. I don't know what he's on, but I like some of the shit he's smoking, mate. I like some of it. I tell you that now. I really would. So that's my little spiel for the moment. So would you like to take the show there for a second, Robert?
I would just comment on your comment in that, yes, the people, what's interesting is the people who have been called out through this cancellation meme and narrative, those folks have not only said what they wanted then, but they're saying even more of that now. And you look at it and you go, well, there's a breakaway, in my estimation and the way I'm looking at it, of people who have more of an independent, I was taught how to think, not what to think. And what you're trying to get me to think has got, it's got lots of holes and lots of questions that need to be answered. It's a mess. So, it doesn't take any sense of being awake or being enlightened or an adept or on the path and the everlasting evergreen student, because that's what we all really are, because all we're getting is new information all the time. If you're not studying that information and how you react to it, you're missing out on a lot of the stuff that's causing you problems, but more importantly, you're missing out on the good shit. When you start focusing your energies in that way and you have that ability to channel and focus your intent, that's the whole power of the mind over matter. That's what the fundamental and all of the mystic schools, the mystery schools, the mystic arts, the grimoires, all of the different divination tools and conjuring tools, and basically theurgy in a body of communication. But that shit's been going on, and everybody's talked about it for millennia. That is the
nothing
natural
changes.
state.
Nothing changes, and then yeah, carry on.
Well, I got kind of squirreled off, so thanks for stopping me there. The whole idea, what I think is going on, these people that you're rightly calling out and giving the shit that they've earned and deserve, what's the common thread among all of that? My point, Jim's got it. My point
the threat.
about
It's the UAP threat where the military is going to get extra funding and everything else, and everybody. Hey, so we're going to create more weapons of mass destruction, and
that's just part of the
you
packaging.
guys. And, yeah.
Well, that's just part of the packaging to dress it up and and help push it through. But my point is this: the people and I've said this a few times on the last conversations we had. I don't believe any of the shit that I'm told anymore. I mean, I have like 3 basic operating filters for the information that is hitting me like daily and like a fire hose. The first thing I do is I look at it and go, well, does it hit the balanced make sense metric? Does it seem like it makes sense? And then you decide whether or not that is something that you can then pursue and see what else is there. But you got to be careful. You got to wear your boots, bring your shovel, protective gear, because the deeper you go into some of this shit, the more shit there is.
So you end up,
when you go into the deep shit, you end up in deep shit.
Well, we are being fed shit. I mean, be honest now, we are being fed. I mean, look, for years and years, no offense to Dr. Stephen Greer. I mean, what kind of a freak? Every time he comes online, all he wants to talk about starts off, I'm an emergency room doctor. The guy hasn't worked as a frigging doctor for over 27 frigging years. What kind of a doctor is he? What a waste of an education for a start. I'm sorry, I shouldn't go down that road, but it's a fact. And you know what? If you want to go and spend a night with him at the bloody Joshua tree, the words comes back, but it costs you thousands of dollars just to spend a moment with the guru. I mean, let's face it. He's a business. Mate, he's egotistical.
Yeah,
leading the charge to what? Leading the charge to bloody nowhere. Just another documentary with the same story in a different order with a different topping on it. What do you want? What flavor do you want this year? Chocolate or vanilla? I mean, that's
one of the things, Terry, that I use as my filter. I look at it and go, does this seem like, has this happened before? Is there a pattern to this? And the one thing that I've noticed with all of the ufology and the ufology is it's always the same things rehashed or repackaged a little bit, where there's literally no new shit. I think some of the most fascinating stuff that none of these people seem to be paying attention to is what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch and what's going on the moon. And there's a guy on YouTube, Bruce Sees All, and he has set himself up with just incredible telescopes, and he watches the moon all the time, and he reports on it. He'll do 2-hour shows, and the stuff that he's capturing, it's like, okay, and nobody's saying anything about it. They're not trying to shoot it down, and they're not trying to amplify it.
Is he the guy actually showing cities lighting up on the top northern part of the moon? Where
he's got some very interesting live camera feeds of activities that look like that, and other things, and buildings that, a lot of the stuff has been known there for decades, but people have ignored it. That whole 50-year gap or whatever it was from we were doing the moon like 2-3 times a year, all of a sudden, let's just shut that down.
And what about you, Jim? What do you say, mate?
Well, I mean, the gentleman that Robert's talking about on his All Things About the Moon, is he the same guy who has actually had a lot, not necessarily a live feed, but a video of craft coming out from the backside?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of that. Yes.
And
Yeah,
as it goes into the shadow of the moon, of course, it doesn't get dark until it's past the edge that it is on the moon. Then it goes away. It looks too good to be fake.
Mm.
Yeah.
And nobody
Agreed.
talks about that. Hey, nobody talks about this shit. And then you get, as I said, people like Luis Elizondo, David Garcia, who nobody's ever heard before. Nobody. And the media doesn't touch jack shit, and all of a sudden somebody turned on the switch, bang, New York Times picks up all the bloody media, takes up and everything, which Luis Elizondo, but no one out of the blue, 24 hours later, is an internet sensation. He's the guru of ufology. Oh, why is the network suddenly listening to him when they listen to nobody else?
They've been told to listen to him.
Exactly. It's a setup. It's been
paid.
He's the streets have been paid. The streets have been paid. Go ahead, go and do it, because they don't want people going in the right direction with ufology. We're going to steer them into the area we want them to go. And we will promise them this and we'll promise them that. Now we go to Congress, and every time there's Congress on, it's going to happen this time. It's all going to be exposed. Hey, the bubble gets bang, gets burst. No new shit. Same, but it's a big fizzle. Then they go and have these private meetings, and they can't. Well, we can't talk about it. It's classified. What?
Why?
Why? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What is your justification for keeping it classified? If it affects everybody on this planet,
exactly.
Then everybody on this planet should be made aware of it if it's a threat.
Doesn't make you feel like you're being bent over and smacked on the backside saying, here's your friggin' dad. Let's face it. We are just being screwed with, mate. That's what we are. And that, look, and sorry, hey, if I'm going down that rough road there, but look, I've had enough of it. And then when my good friend turned around and says, call it how it is, because you're not calling it. No, I gave it some consideration. I thought about it, and that person was 100%, and I thank that person for it. Thank you. I know you're listening. No, but
well, and I totally agree with you, Terry. I think that the thing about the sequestering of the information, right? Yes. It's all been sequestered in subterfuge. We don't know why it's classified. It's hidden. It's decompartmentalized. It's spread all over the place. But the interesting thing, I think, is the fact that the original government, the effort that they put into creating the intelligence and these aerospace industries was farmed out. It was Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, all the individual companies became private contractors to the government.
Yep. And because they don't come under the Freedoms of Information Act, see, it becomes their property. They kind of paint and whatever they work out, they make a fortune on it. It's good for the economy. It's good for the company. We don't see the end of the day. It all goes into high tech. Was it aerospace industry, weaponry, you name it. We don't get the benefit of it.
Well, there's multiple aspects to that, and from my perspective, and this is why I keep saying that the whole meme and use of the word disclosure is the wrong word. It's wrong for the first reason being, what is being disclosed? What is the object of disclosure? And everything, all the folks you named and everybody else, for the most part, have been going down this. Everything is just a repeat of something else, right? And it's a meme that kind of floats through the community.
Same shit, different day.
Exactly. So they have it. The real term, in my opinion, should be exposure, because as far as disclosure, which is the first level, is are they theirs or ours, and then the next question is what's the percentage, and it seems to be somewhere around 75 to 90% ours. But that still leaves 10% of that isn't, and
if it's only one that is real,
exactly,
just one. Maybe the poor son of a bitch got lost.
Well, that's another thing, in my opinion, that the disclosure of whether they're theirs or ours and was answered millennia ago. And every cosmology of every civilization that we have uncovered and that we have deciphered, decoded, and gotten some sense of, all of them have the same cosmology. Somebody from up there came down here, told us stuff, taught us stuff, gave us stuff, and maybe even made our stuff, or had some finger in it, if you will.
Or
But
something
nonetheless,
in it.
and that's, probably where a lot of the probe lore comes from. But the whole idea of, are we alone? That was answered a long time ago. No, we've never been alone. And we are the product. And it's interesting how, if you just look at what appears to be the empirical data trend and the direction that the information is pointing, it's pointing to this: we were engineered. We weren't.
Yeah.
We are not original, but we are hybrids. Okay. So,
and the question is too, Rob, it's when people say, well, why would they come here? And my answer to that would be, because we are an oasis in the vastness of space. That's what I say.
But there are in the neighborhood in our universe, in our known universe, they figure there are 2 billion Earth-like planets in the inhabitable zone with liquid water, orbiting similar-sized brown dwarf star as our sun.
And that's just a guess at the moment. There could be more.
Yeah, but the odds are saying it at least, and we're not talking about larger planets. I'm talking about Earth-like planets, similar size as Earth. But they're, with liquid water. That's the key ingredient.
I'd be better if it was beer.
Yeah. Now, what we'll also need to have is some other object orbiting in or near it to cause tides, to keep the water fresh, to probably affect the land mass itself. If it has liquid water, it probably has either a plasma or a liquid core of some sort. So
strong winds and hurricane type winds can also be the same effect as well. You know what I mean? So
when I was just thinking about what you were saying, Jim, about the tides, and I realized that the movement of the water as it shifts around the planet by the gravity and the magnetic pole, really not gravity, because they got that all screwed up anyway, but the magnetic pole, the attraction that happens between the Earth and the moon, causes the water to go in a motion around it as it's on its own axis and rotating. So it's kind of like a pulse.
Yeah.
Right? And it could be both an energy induction of energy, and also the exfil, or the sharing of that energy and it coming out. So I just had that vision, and it looked really cool. I'm going to try to get that on into a graphic. But that's what's happening and that's really cool, right? I mean, that's just like we were talking about how a group of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is experiencing the seasonal shift and is finding it quite pleasant. It's turned out to be very enjoyable where they are, and they had to share it right away because people hadn't said that anything good about the weather for a long time. So back to the UFOs.
And all that.
There he is.
There's Gerald from Midwest Night Watchers. How you going, Gerald?
How you doing?
Speaking of UFOs,
I like the hat, mate. I really like. You can get hold of those horns, mate.
Longhorn, yeah,
the longhorn. Like it. I noticed you've been having the cameras out in the field there.
Yeah, it's I was trying to figure out if I pop on here what it do to my stream, but I got both of them going at the same time, so we'll see how it goes.
You know, you come joining us today, you're going to get a reputation because we're really kind of spitting a dummy today, mate. Really are. So you don't have to join in. You can just be quiet and just say, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, I couldn't say that. But I do. From now on, I'm saying it all, mate. I'm better. What's that guy character on that movie? I'm fed up. I've had enough, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
That was broadcast news.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not
Just
saying
lean out your window and let her rip.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then look, this is it. See, the way ufology's gone, it's becoming a joke. It's really becoming a. But as I said last week, there's only a few good men left in ufology that don't. I mean, they're all kind of into it as a business to a degree. But the point is, I mean, you look at Michael Schratt. He's dedicated in what he does, absolutely dedicated, and you know, and he presents well. And then you've got Mr. Preston Dennett, you know, the guy, I mean, he gets his shit together and he puts it all together and a good story each week. 10 stories about things that happen with multiple witnesses. Now, he covers it really well too. There are one or two others, but in ufology alone, too much bullshit going on. I do like Goof On. I do like Goof On Radio. Because again, I find Giorgiano, he actually spits that bloody dummy, mate. He pulls the shit out of these people too. I mean, he talks about what was it? Corbell as a doorbell. He calls him out, and he calls out a lot of other people too. And I'm saying, well, good on him, because I should have been doing that a long time ago. Because these people are getting away with so much crap. And you know what? I can't believe how gullible people are following that shit. I'm sorry, guys. I don't like to see people being taken in. I mean, somebody's got to stand up against these people leading a bad narrative. And they are leading a very bad narrative. And we're getting steered away from the truth. We're getting steered. We've been led down that provable path. You know, it's like going down that yellow brick road. Off the cedar, we said. Sorry. It is. It's like a Walt Disney bloody story. I mean, you don't know. It's the never-ending story. And that's what it is. Sorry, guys. I have to go and make it a bit of a musical there for a moment. But I'm off my tree today because I'm really fired up about all this shit. Anyway, back to you, Robert.
Oh, you're going to toss the turd to me? Okay,
Oh,
let's see
yeah,
if I can get the clean end of that one.
But you have to pick it up by the clean end.
Yeah, I'm looking for
both
that
hands,
end.
mate. Both hands.
So I think the real thing with the point I was making before I was so creatively interrupted, and that was awesome.
I'm having fun. I love
was the use of the right terms. You guys have heard me wax on and wax off and wank on and wank off about the whole linguistic thing, right? To me, and this is a fundamental part in my philosophy, Informatica, is that language is the operating system of the mind. And language, depending on the words, the symbols, the sounds, the combinations, all mean they frame the world that you inhabit. Because every time you experience something, you need a definition for it, right? Where's that definition? Oh, well, they call that a sign. They call that a symbol. And it permeates through the reality we inhabit so we can navigate it. And that's good stuff. But there's so many things that have been carefully crafted and curated with these little tweaks in the language, some of them not so little. But they've taken words that used to have a certain accepted meaning and use, and they've, in a lot of cases, just turned them $1.80 around. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean anything like what I used to use it as. I mean, we're going through that whole thing with this. That's one of the big tools in the cancel culture, is people are getting canceled because of the word selection and how they've combined them.
Yeah, classic word. Sorry, Rob, is conspiracy, conspiracies and to conspire.
Mm-hmm.
The play on words. Too similar. So if you're a conspiracist,
to conspire
you're
is to agree to do something with someone else. That is a conspire, right?
Yeah.
That's the root of it. Doesn't say anything about the intent, any of that shit. It's just there's been an agreement for these two are going to go do this, right? So the whole conspiracy thing, and it blows me away less now, but it's been blowing me away for a while. The term conspiracy theorist was created by the intelligence agency back in the 60s.
Mm.
It's documented. This isn't some bullshit or woo-woo or anything. It's an official U.S. government tablature and records. And they created it to divert the attention from the Kennedy assassination. Clear as day. Project Mockingbird's got it. All of the stuff we've seen with the Ultra work, the MKs, the MOs and the EIEIOs. I mean, there's a whole cadre of flavors of shit. And you go, well, this guy's got this one, but the majority of what's going on is just an echoing of the same shit. And they're doing it because they're creating a frequency set in the conversation, the social conversation, and they're making it buzz the way they want it to. They're getting the agitation, the angst, the frustration, all of the heightened anxiety kind of emotions. They've crafted the words, turned them around, and force fed them in all kinds of nice little packaging through academia, through media, through just the financial, judicial systems. All of it is showing signs of what I'm calling there's a mental illness afoot. And this mental illness seems to have expressed itself in a common character set of people. Because we all have these. What's that, Jim?
Politicians.
That is one of our favorite groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
But all of these systems with which society functions and the civilization is organized, and it's a involuntary, voluntary, organized collective. It's not of itself. It's organized as from these entities. And these folks have created all these rules and systems to try to manage and get as much as they can out of it. Well, they've done it for so many decades that they clearly they were oriented on the short term and weren't looking in the long term about how these ideas and these systems that they were implementing, how they would affect everything in the long run. What would you get on the ass end of this? And there seems to be a propensity for those who are in the authoritative positions and control. Their system is just broke, and there's nothing they can do about it because it can't be fixed. So this applies to everything from, again, all of our civil and society infrastructure and systems, the banking, the commerce, the roads, the logistics, all of that stuff requires some kind of organization and administration. Well, all of that is going to be replaced because it no longer will function for the transformation that's happening. So here's my optimism speech. And I've been going on this for a while because it still feels like it. The dumpster fire that we're all dancing and avoiding, dancing around and avoiding now is necessary. It will be intense. It will be a global thing in an isolated way, meaning there'll just be shit that pops up. Moscow over here, the oil spill, the train crash. Where was that?
The bridge going down.
And then the bridge. But would they have that oil spill?
In Ohio.
Yeah, somewhere in Ohio. But they all had the same kind of thing. They were like big events, but they were isolated. And I think we're going to see like Moscow and on the bridge, and who knows, what's going to be served up in the next few days. We've got some interesting astrological alignments, which are creating and they are providing their own energetic influence to the cycles that are going on. And then you have all of the energy of the cycles. The
Psycho. No, you're right. Psychos.
Yes. Cycle sound about right.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
There seems to be a cycle in the psychos. There seems to be this regular recycling, and this is what I was saying again about the information is it's all the same. It's like playing what's that, pickleball or whatever in a big room, and everybody's just hitting the fucking balls and they're all swinging around because it's not functioning. Everything is basically broke, but there's a transition to new technologies. The three most important ones that this is swinging back to why I'm saying that it should be exposure, not disclosure. All the technology that's going to replace the shit that's broke right now is off bench. It's in all production situation. It can be produced and mass produced and made available. And that's for what's 0 point technology in general, but energy in the cube of your hand and never ending. It just keeps coming. You just take it out when you need it. And it's just it never ends as far as its fuel in life. It just generates.
Society as we know it today is absolutely RS. It's sad. I mean, we can spend billions a year on a global sense having war games, but we can't afford to actually feed 2/3 of the world that's living in poverty. We produce so many ballistic missiles that's excess amount of $1 million each. And we got an arsenal which can destroy the planet over more than 50 times. You know, I mean, so how much of these deadly weapons or mass destruction do we actually need to destroy the earth? But makes it even more interesting, we develop money in the areas of trillions of dollars on a global sense to make supersonic, hypersonic friggin' missiles, not just to blow each other, but to make it faster and more efficiently. And then, I mean, we're getting down to the real reality of it.
Bob Lazar's job when he was at Sandia is bring the kill cost per casualty in a nuclear weapon detonation from 11 cents to 9 cents.
We've all got a price, have we?
I mean, this is, some bureaucrat said, okay, well, we got to, the nuclear weapon's going to cost us so many millions of dollars once we've designed it to detonate. So let's say it's a $50 million bomb.
Yeah.
And, it's good and you're trying to get the $50 million down to killing not a ratio of 11 cents per kill, but down to 9 cents. I mean, what kind of insanity
I'd like
does it take for someone to figure out, well, this is more efficient?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to know how they came up with the formula to measure that. What are the metrics they're using, first of all, to get the original number? And then how did they get a 2 cent reduction? I mean, that just sounds like it needs to be looked at, in my opinion.
Hey, guys, can I knock up a video here for a little while, if you don't mind? This is
what if we
did
mind? What if we did mind?
Jim has not had his 20 minutes.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry, my apologies, old man. Okay.
Hey, you be nice with that old shit there.
Oh, well, I apologize. Hey, everybody. It was Jim's birthday the other day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's Jim. I hear, and I'm trying to sink my being into this idea, but I hear that 80 is the new 60.
Yes.
And 60 is the new 40.
Well, I just hope I look and be active like Jim when I get that age too, mate. Not far off it either.
Well, in my heart and in my brain, I'm still in my 40s.
Yeah.
I think you take a dip back to about 12-year-old once in a while. I've seen them myself.
More than every once in a while. I mean, I sort of live in that neighborhood. I venture out to adulthood, every once in a while. But most of the time, I'm back there as a 12-year-old. I mean, and that's where I made my transition from a goody two-shoe A's and A pluses to my brother comes in 3 years behind me, and Mr. Hansen's reading the roll. Came to Theodore Goodall, and he stops and he said, "Do you have an older brother named James?" And my brother says, "Yes." He said, "Out, out, out. I had one Goodall. I'm not going to have another one. Get out of here now." And my brother said, "Well, what the hell did I do? What did I do?" Said, "You related to your brother. That's what you did." So
now, can I play this, dog? Jim, can you? Excuse me, Jim. Can you just finish off what you're saying? That I can put this damn video up.
I'll put that. Well,
hey, you know what?
Well,
you know what?
If you feel froggy, jump. Go.
I've got a video to share as well. Mine's only about 4 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, this doesn't take long.
We're about 1:45, and I know that Terry, your documentaries are getting longer.
I know, and you know, and do you know what? This one has a little audio. There's a section on where the audio goes a little bit silly, but it's a good little docky. You'll like it. Let me play it. Come on, let me put it on.
I honestly came in too early.
Yeah.
Mr. B. Welcome to Mr. B and Friends, Truth Seekers. Have you ever pondered the paradox of our scientific advancements? Our world is a testament to the power of human intellect, a showcase of our scientific and technological prowess. We've been to the moon, we've split the atom, and we've decoded the human genome. But among these wondrous achievements, there's a darker side to our progress.
My audio was playing up in this.
It's a side that sees us crafting tools of destruction with an efficiency and speed that's both awe-inspiring and terrifying. We live in an era where our capabilities for creation and destruction go hand in hand. We've developed weapons of mass destruction that can annihilate entire cities in a blink of an eye. We've honed technologies that can guide a missile to a target thousands of miles away with pinpoint accuracy. We've engineered biological weapons that can wipe out populations without leaving a trace. And we're doing all of this at an unprecedented pace. But while we're busy advancing the science of obliteration, we're lagging in other areas. There are still over 700 million people around the world who go to bed hungry every night. We've yet to solve the pressing issues of poverty, inequality, and world hunger. So it begs the question, why are we dedicating so much of our resources and intellect to the development of weapons when there are people starving? This is the paradox of progress. On one hand, we have the power to destroy our world several times over. On the other, we're struggling to feed our own population. It seems that our priorities are skewed, that we're more interested in developing the means to wage war than we are in finding solutions to the problems that plague our society. This paradox is not just a philosophical quandary, it's a moral and ethical dilemma. It's a question about the kind of world we want to live in and the kind of future we want to leave for our children. In this video, we delve into the stark contrast between our progress in weapon technology and our struggle to address world hunger. We're going to explore this paradox and hopefully inspire some thought and discussion about where we're heading as a species. What if I told you that the key to solving world hunger may lie in our priorities? Let's delve into the concept of resource allocation. It's a simple principle, really. When we talk about resources, we're talking about money, time, manpower, materials, and even mental energy. These resources are limited, and we, as a society, must decide where to allocate them. Imagine for a moment a set of scales. On one side, we have the resources allocated to developing faster, more efficient weapons of mass destruction. On the other side, we have the resources dedicated to solving world hunger. Now, let's examine this balance. The scales are heavily tapered towards weapons development. Why is that? Well, many reasons come into play: national defense, political power, economic interests, and so on. But as we pour more and more into this side of the scale, the other side becomes lighter. The fight against world hunger, it seems, is losing out. But wait, let's not rush to conclusions. Let's examine the potential outcomes of this resource allocation. On the weapons side, we're creating tools of destruction. Yes, they may serve as deterrents, maintaining a fragile balance of power. But what's the end game here? Are we not racing towards self-destruction? On the other hand, if we tip the scales towards solving world hunger, we're investing in life, not death. We're promoting growth, not destruction. We're nurturing the potential of millions who could contribute to society in unimaginable ways, if only given the chance. So, we're left with a stark contrast. On one hand, we have the quick, efficient path to destruction. On the other, the slower, more methodical path to growth and prosperity. The question then becomes, why do we prioritize weapons over feeding the hungry? Is it fear? Is it power? Or is it simply a lack of vision? Whatever the reason, the power to change lies in our hands, in our priorities, because ultimately the resources we have are not as important as how we choose to use them. It's a startling reality to consider the cost of war versus the cost of hunger. Every year, nations around the globe allocate staggering amounts of their budgets towards the development and maintenance of weapons. In fact, global military expenditure in the year 2023 surpassed $1.5 trillion. That's a number so large, it's almost impossible to comprehend. Now, let's consider the cost of hunger. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations estimates that it would take around $300 billion annually to end world hunger by 2030. That's less than a fifth of what's currently spent on military expenditure globally. It's not just about money though, it's about resources too. The metals used to construct weapons could instead be utilized to build infrastructure for sustainable agriculture. The energy used to power military vehicles could be redirected towards powering farming equipment. Imagine the potential impact of reallocating even a fraction of these resources to hunger solutions. We could not only feed the currently starving population, but also set up systems to ensure food security for future generations. It's also worth considering the human resources involved. The minds that engineer weapons of mass destruction could instead be put to work, designing innovative solutions to combat hunger. Despite these glaring disparities, the rush towards militarization and weaponry development continues unabated. It's a race towards self-destruction, with the cost measured not just in dollars, but in human lives lost to war and lives lost to hunger. It's clear that with a shift in priorities, we could make a significant dent in the world hunger problem. But it requires a collective effort, a global commitment to redirect our resources, our time, and our minds towards creating a world where no one goes to bed hungry. Every choice has consequences, and our choice to prioritize weapons over hunger is no different. Imagine a world where the collective effort currently expended on developing weapons of mass destruction is redirected towards solving global hunger. What could the potential consequences of such a shift be? Let's explore this together. Firstly, the social impact. As we channel resources towards alleviating hunger, we'd likely see a significant decrease in global poverty rates. This would in turn lead to improved health outcomes, increased literacy rates, and a reduction in social unrest. A population that is well fed and educated is a population that is equipped to contribute positively to society. Now, let's consider the economic implications. The World Bank estimates that the global economy loses approximately $3.5 trillion each year due to the effects of malnutrition. If we could significantly reduce or even eliminate global hunger, imagine the economic prosperity we could unlock. Instead of funding wars, we could be funding innovation, development, and progress. And what about the environmental impact? The production and testing of weapons of mass destruction have far-reaching environmental consequences affecting air, land, and water quality. A shift in focus towards hunger solutions could mitigate these impacts. It could lead to a more sustainable approach to food production, reducing our carbon footprint and promoting biodiversity. But what if we continue on our current path? We risk an escalating arms race, increasing geopolitical tensions, and the potential for catastrophic warfare, not to mention the ongoing human cost of hunger as millions continue to suffer needlessly. The stakes are high, and the choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. While weapons may offer a sense of security, they do not address the root causes of conflict: hunger, poverty, and inequality. These are the real enemies we should be fighting against. So we stand at a crossroads. One path leads to mutual destruction, the other to shared prosperity.
The audio stuffed up.
The choice is ours. What kind of world do we want to leave for future generations? Change begins with you, with us, with all of us making a stand. It's easy to feel insignificant in the face of global issues, but remember, the collective voice of the masses is a powerful catalyst for change. So, how do we start? By raising our voices and advocating for a shift in priorities. We live in an era of unprecedented connectivity. It's never been easier to communicate with others around the globe, to share ideas and mobilize for a cause. Use this to your advantage. Speak out on social media. Start conversations with your friends and family. Write to your political representatives. Every voice counts and every action matters. The more we talk about the paradox of progress, the more attention it will garner and the more likely it is that change will occur. Education, too, is a powerful tool. The more people understand the reality of world hunger and the vast resources funneled into weapons development, the more likely they are to demand change. Educate yourself and then educate others. Share articles, documentaries, and resources that shed light on these issues. Knowledge is power, and power can bring about change. Finally, consider supporting organizations that work towards solving world hunger. These groups are on the front lines, doing the critical work of feeding those in need and advocating for policy changes. Your financial support can help them reach more people and have a greater impact. If you're unable to donate money, consider donating your time. Volunteer, organize fundraising events, or use your skills to help these organizations in other ways. Remember, change isn't something that happens overnight. It's a slow, steady process that starts with a single step. Your step, our step. The step of millions who believe in a better, more equitable world. And with each step, we move closer to shifting our priorities, to moving away from destruction and towards creation, towards a world where no one goes to bed hungry. Together, we can shift our priorities and create a world where no one goes to bed hungry. This is Mr. B. Don't forget to tickle the like and subscribe button. Till next time.
There you go, guys.
Ta-da!
Yeah. So that's my take on the political stance of this friggin' world, mate. We're screwed. We are screwed. Because-
when I was listening to it, and I told you this before when you were doing some of the other shows, the documentaries you've done, the one you made for Chastity. I mean, you have a way of expressing. It's kind of like an Australian Gandhi.
Oh shit!
They get to them. They get to-
I mean,
I changed your diaper.
Oh God! Yeah. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
no, I
look,
think
but it's what I
think you
feel.
did a
See,
nice job.
these are things that goes through my head. You know, I mean, I look. Jim understands. When you get our age, you look at it and say, "This world's fucked." Excuse my language, everybody. We're fucked. We are truly bent over and shafted. You know, I mean, what have we left this world? Oh, we left them supersonic, hyper ballistic missiles. You know, hey, wonderful. You know. But yeah, we can play war games, but we can't ship. Do you know how much food? Now, this is where my issue is, right? Do you know how much food is actually buried in the ground to allow for new season stock, or what's been burnt and what they bury? How much milk is poured down a drain to make new stock? Wine poured down when they can use for biofuels that get poured down the drain, pumped out into the ocean. You know, the food that just totally gets destroyed. Why? They can't give it away. Because of bring the prices of food, prices of meat down, the prices of vegetables down, and we can't have that affecting our shareholders, right? It's all about the shareholder profit on, and you know what? This is where does it stop? We've got to make more profit on last year's profit. I mean, last year's profit was a record profit, but we've got to do better this year. Our performance has got to be better. Yeah.
So Terry, what do you think what causes that? What is it the system itself that's broke, or are the parts that are playing in the system broke, or is it a combination of the two?
Both. Total. The systems RS. We've got idiots leading the country, people with no integrity. I'm not just talking about America. We're talking about Australia and everybody else because they're all playing the same fiddle, right? I mean, hey, we can go into Parliament or in the Congress and they can say, oh, we've got to raise excess billions more dollars because we've got to we've got to get new submarines, we've got to get new aircraft, we've got to compete with it. But China's just as bad, everybody's just as bad as each other.
Hey,
but
speaking about China, what is happening with China? Evergrande is gone bankrupt. That's their big real estate holding. If I may have mispronounced it, but factories that were just at capacity 6 months ago, no one's seen a human being in them now in over a month and a half, and that's all over China. Their exports are down a huge percentage from previous years.
And eventually, all the Chinese cars around the world, you won't be able to get parts for them. And then they will start falling apart and they'll start sitting on the side of the road. Hey, feed the world with it. Feed the world with junk cars and, you haven't got the parts to run them. Everything comes to a standstill, The mail, you can guarantee you can get into a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz, you'll probably find there's an intricate part within that car that's still made in China. I mean, you can't get away from it. There's Chinese products and everything,
Well, that it's that way on purpose.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I mean, when you look back, and I've been enjoying a fresh look at the 60s and the 70s with Nixon and Kennedy, Johnson. When I look at what Nixon did, just taking off China, taking off Russia, taking off all these places and opening up relations with them. And he got took out by some clumsy goofs that were trying to do the spook thing, and they just were less than optimal. So they get caught. But Nixon, when you look at these, the metrics that they measure the emotions and the thoughts and perspectives just so they can determine what they want to tell you, you feel like, how this is how you should think about this. This is how you're going to feel about it. This is how thou shalt go forth and show your compliance with that which we've told you. Because that's what it is. They do that, and it's real easy when you're kind of overwhelmed and you get a lot of shit to do to get herded if it's a path of less resistance. So the people, I had to come to the realization that as much as I feel I would wish to be able to affect an awakening and awareness, a broader expanse of sense and information of what reality is. And if you open that up, you find out, there's all kinds of shit in here that is probably more interesting and it's less bullshit. Because if it's like we were saying at the beginning, the ufology is just right now a bunch of BS.
Mhm.
It's a bunch of nattering nabobs trapping each other, banging around in an echo chamber. And that's just my perspective. So all the guys that you rightfully jumped on, Terry, I'm right there. And to me, they're just in that big pile of claptrap. Then they're all
Totally.
together.
Totally. And what's this video you got to show us, mate?
Oh, I wanted to share.
Yeah.
I just did the first show with the Nexus with John Seri.
Right.
And I finished the editing. I'm doing all my shows recorded because I want to have just that one-on-one interaction and have a conversation. So we did the show on Tuesday, and I finished the editing today, and I've got a short trailer that I want to play for it that I made for it. It's about 4 minutes long, and it's the intro to the show. The name of the show is The Sound of Space, and Jim in particular, I think, and Terry as well. I'm sure you too, Gerald. When you hear his biography up at the front, you'll go, huh? So I'm going to share that. Hold on a second. I'll load her up.
Oh, I tell you, we're doing well today, mate. We really putting our finger on the pulse today. I mean, it's about bloody time too, and I think more people should be doing it. Most definitely.
Yeah, it feels that way to me. Hold on here. Let's do this.
I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea. People don't like conflict. I don't like conflict, but sometimes you just got to stand up for what's right, I mean,
sometimes, diamonds don't get made without a whole bunch of pressure.
Exactly.
It's always good to keep a perspective. All right. Tell me if you can see this. Whoops, this one here. And then tell me if you get sound.
Got to play it first.
Yeah, so you do see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me get back here. I'm playing it from my computer instead of, I've got it up on the YouTube channel, but it'll buffer better here, I think. Let's see.
Yep, all good.
You got sound.
Great.
John Seri has been at the forefront of the electronic music industry for over 3 decades. His visionary compositional skills have revolutionized today's contemporary electronic music. Along with his extensive portfolio of over 30 recordings with combined sales in the millions, Seri's list of achievements is diverse and esteemed. He produced the score and sound design for the first interactive production on advanced robotics and artificial intelligence with Lucasfilm and the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. His music is used in thousands of planetariums worldwide. He composed the music for the galaxies across space and time, IMAX and Space Telescope Science Institute feature film about the discovery of deep field galaxies beyond the known universe. He composed music for the hit Hollywood film What the Bleep Do We Know?, starring Academy Award winner Marlee Matlin, and for David Carradine's Tai Chi series. His music is heard on PBS, the Discovery Channel, the Weather Channel, and the U.S. Navy Blue Angels. John is a former U.S. Air Force search and rescue pilot. with advanced instrument and commercial ratings, and holds the coveted Disaster Relief Presidential Award with Valor for his Flying in the Deepwater Horizon Gulf oil spill. His music is utilized in the medical community for sleep research, hospice spiritual care, and music therapy for autistic children. John is a spiritual care volunteer for Hospice Atlanta. John Seri, welcome to the Nexus. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Subject of today's show is the sound of space. And in the exploration that I've had over the many last several decades is about sound and about space and how they are both independent, yet they are coexistent. They are required for one another, if you will. And I couldn't think of anybody better to talk to about this than John Seri. John, your work over the last 30 plus years has just been a catalog of creativity, spanning time and space, as it were, with sound. And I'd really like to talk to you about what that concept, what that idea, what that imagery evokes. Because I think one of the things we're seeing in society is a lot of people are starting to have questions about both sound and in particular space and time and all of those wonderful scientific models and methodologies that men, math, models, and machines keep trying to throw their efforts into to try to define. But I think it's really much more fundamental than that. I think there's really an innate aspect of our experience, of our human nature, of the nature of consciousness and the characteristics of consciousness that are very fundamental, they're very subtle, yet they're very profound. And I have to say that your latest release, which we'll play a little bit later, Ascendant Destiny, I think is, of all of the works that I've listened to of yours over the years, is probably one of your finest.
Thank you.
When I put it on the first time and gave it a spin, I was captivated because I thought, well, I'll put it on the surround sound in the living room. It'll fill the house. I cranked everything up and I commenced to putz about. And within 5 or 10 minutes, I found myself having to quit my putts and to sit down and just allow myself to be absorbed in it. Tell us a little bit about Ascendant Destiny and how that came about.
Well, what I really wanted to do was go for two directions, destiny being a time and ascendant being a direction and emotion. And those two things seem to go together good. Destiny being infinite and ascendant being infinite. So with those two directions being combined, you know, you wanted the music to really give both of those ideas a flavor. And technically what you wanted to do is have the music as wide as possible and surround as possible. In the synthesizer programming, you build those things into the synthesizer programming. And that was the direction that I used with all of the sounds and the sound design and the music going in, you know, as well as the mix and the balance of things. Wide and beautiful was the order of the day.
So that's just the opening piece. We got about an hour and a half of a conversation. We cover, I've actually got it queued up on the YouTube channel, but he talks about pilots. He's a pilot, certified commercial pilot, and he likes to go up and fly and try to get up there and find them. He wants to go jam with them. He wants to go talk to them. He's like, you know, his experience, and he's 73, and he's been looking for our cosmic cousins through music and airplanes and flying around and meditation for the last several decades. Really,
Well,
we've
been talking about this for ages. Everything's to do with frequency. Everything.
That's right.
You know, so anyway, listen, I got another one to play. It's not as long as the last one. Okay, promise. Okay.
Where's guinea pigs?
Well, where's the sound? Oh, there it is.
Nature of our existence and the role emotions play in it. Are we spiritual beings navigating a three-dimensional world, experiencing a spectrum of emotions? Imagine for a moment the idea that we are more than just physical beings. Consider the possibility that we are, in fact, spiritual entities, gracefully traversing through a tangible three-dimensional realm. Our existence then becomes a fascinating journey of discovery and learning. Emotions, in this context, emerge as our guiding compass. They are the vivid hues that paint our experiences, allowing us to perceive and comprehend this world. The duality of emotions, love and hate, joy and pain, serve as crucial elements of our learning. They shape our interactions, influence our decisions, and ultimately define our existence. As we delve deeper into this complex labyrinth of existence, we encounter the thought-provoking concept of spirituality and its intricate connection to our emotions. This is but the first step into the enigma of our existence, a journey that promises to be as enlightening as it is intriguing. Astro spirituality, a broad concept with room for many perspectives, often includes a sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves. As we journey through the labyrinth of life, we encounter myriad interpretations of spirituality. From the East to the West, from the ancient to the contemporary, spirituality has been a beacon of light, guiding humanity through the ages. In the tranquility of Buddhist teachings, spirituality is seen as the path to enlightenment, a state of perfect understanding and wisdom. Here, the focus is on the self, on internal reflection and meditation, to find a connection with the universe. In contrast, the Native American spirituality emphasizes a deep bond with nature and all its elements. It teaches us to respect the interdependence of all beings, fostering a sense of unity with the earth and sky, the wind and water. Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, on the other hand, have a more theistic perspective. Here, spirituality is about the relationship with a divine entity, a higher power that guides and protects. Yet spirituality is not confined within the walls of religion or culture. For some, it is a journey of self-discovery, a quest for meaning and purpose in life. It is about exploring our inner depths, understanding our emotions, and finding our unique place in the grand scheme of existence. In the realm of science too, spirituality finds its place. Quantum physics, for instance, talks about the interconnectedness of everything in the universe. This, in a way, mirrors spiritual teachings of unity and oneness, providing a bridge between science and spirituality. In essence, spirituality, in its various forms and interpretations, is about connection. It could be a connection with a higher power, with the universe, with nature, with others, or with our own selves. It is a journey inward, unearthing layers of our being, and a voyage outward, reaching beyond the confines of our physical existence. Regardless of our individual beliefs, spirituality often serves as a pathway to understanding our emotions and our place in the universe. Our emotions, ranging from love to hate, joy to sorrow, are not just reactions, but tools for learning and evolving. They are the colors of our inner world, painting a vivid picture of our spiritual existence. Each emotion holds a lesson, a key to unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Love teaches us to open our hearts, to embrace vulnerability. Anger, often misunderstood, is a call for justice, a spark that can ignite change. Sorrow carves deep valleys in our souls, making room for rivers of joy to flow. Even fear, with its chilling grasp, holds a lesson of courage and resilience. Experiencing a wide range of emotions enriches our spiritual journey. It's through these experiences that we uncover the depths of our empathy, our capacity for compassion, our resilience in the face of adversity. Our emotions, in all their complexity, are integral to our spiritual journey, helping us navigate the vast landscape of human existence. As we journey through life, we encounter a myriad of emotions, each one teaching us something new about ourselves and the world around us. We've traversed the profound concept of humanity, not merely as physical entities, but as spiritual beings experiencing a three-dimensional existence. This existence is a complex tapestry woven with threads of love, hate, joy, sorrow, and myriad other emotions. We've delved into different perspectives on spirituality, acknowledging its multifaceted nature. Some view it as a quest for meaning, others as a path to inner peace or a tool for understanding the mysteries of life. Finally, we've explored the role of emotions in our spiritual journey. They are our guides, leading us towards self-discovery and self-awareness. They are the catalysts for growth, transformation, and ultimately spiritual evolution. Perhaps as we continue to explore and understand our emotions, we inch closer to unraveling the enigma of our existence as spiritual beings in a physical world. Thank you for joining Mr. B and friends, truth seekers, and don't forget to tickle the like and subscribe buttons. Till next time.
Well, how about that? Did so. Where's Robert? Come on, Robert. Yeah, you're hiding there, mate.
Oh shit! Hold on, hit the wrong fucking button again.
Oh, yeah. 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 Poor Jim there. I'm bored. I'm a documentary's boring, Jim. I can see him yawning there, going, "Oh God."
Try to keep my snoring down to a minimum.
Fair enough. But again, as we go, we are living a three-dimensional experience, and but again, makes me wonder how some people are living their bloody 3D existence. I mean, and they're so confused. Boys trying to be girls, girls trying to be boys. I mean, I don't know. So, what's your take on this, Rob? I know I keep anyway. Before you continue, Gerald.
Yes.
You're a very quiet man. Now I want to take the bull by the horns there, mate. On that,
The dangerous ones.
Yeah. Just the quiet ones you got to watch out for, mate. Yeah. They're explosive, mate. They're like a ticking time bomb. These guys. I mean, so
well, not everybody's ready for the Midwest version of all this. I don't think. I mean, we live in this 3D world. We live in, obviously on this planet, but at the same time, we're not of this world. We can choose to mentally leave this world. We can choose to spiritually leave this world. I mean, there's all kinds of choices. We don't have to be in our existence here all the time on this plane.
No, I totally agree. And, I have a lot of respect for dreamers. I mean, the people say, "Oh, stop dreaming." No, I mean, hey, dreaming creates innovation. It can shape the future. I mean, it's like visions. I mean, I know dreaming, there's a reality, there's dreaming, there's a reality, but sometimes everything's built on a dream, on an assumption, on something, and we dream about things and we think, well, I wonder what if. I mean, that's the big question mark. What if, and it all starts with an idea, a dream, a vision, and
well, Terry, just let me tag on to that and just give a shout out to my whole thing about the hype and hyperbole, fuss, muss, sex, and sizzle that's going around on this AI bullshit, because what you just described cannot be programmed into an inorganic system, not with our current physics, not with our current understanding of the materium versus the ethereum. And the ethereum is where it's at, and that's where they're not looking. So it's like, okay, I mean, it's so upside down from reality, from just observational neutrality. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be, you know, you don't even, the whole IQ thing is a bunch of bullshit. It's measured on the wrong things for the wrong reasons. They're always looking in the wrong place for the wrong things for the wrong reasons. And that to me is what we're seeing. We're seeing incompetence, complete incapable of doing anything and making it keep going. Designing something that has some kind of sustainability, reciprocity as its engine, because then if it's self-feeding and self-helping itself, then boy, does a lot of productivity and stuff flow through that. But none of that stuff is available with the current infrastructure. It's all so antiquated for the technology that's available that it's in the way.
Yeah, but
So
I can't understand how people can have their jobs lost because they identify a man as a man and not as a woman, right? And they call it you're being a bigot and you're being whatever. And these men want to use the women's toilets, and the mothers don't want this man that calls himself a woman using the same toilet as a daughter or whatever. And these people get prosecuted. There was one case I was reading on about this woman complained. She was at a health club about this man inside the ladies' changing room, stripping off, getting changed and everything, while the daughter's sitting there scared, not knowing what to do. And when she complained, she got sacked, got kicked out of the place, never to come back. Her membership was disowned. So she went on social media and complained about it. And apparently this health club that's big in America lost thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars for membership. People just withdraw their membership. People have had enough of that shit. They really have. And I'm sick of it myself. I mean, let's face it. I mean, listen, if you can't get pregnant, you're a friggin' man. I mean, if you've got a dick, you're a man. There's no ifs or buts about it. You know what I mean? No, if you want to be a woman, get the bloody thing cut off. Simple.
And until then, kiss my ass. I mean,
exactly. You know what I mean? Come on. I mean,
well, to me, that's just a part of the narrative, the collective global only herd model. I mean, when you throw shit into the stew that don't belong there, it bounces around and it causes trouble, and it certainly most likely is going to make your soup turn to shit. And that's exactly what we're seeing. It's not magic. It doesn't take a stamped piece of paper from some crumbling institution. The rise. So we are seeing the knowledge apocalypse, and apocalypse in the original use or definition of the term, meaning the unveiling, to reveal, right? So the knowledge apocalypse is upon us. And it is the end of the curated narrative. Because the curated shit these people have been smiling and dialing and tossing out for the last several decades is just, it's fallen under its own weight of incompetence, stupidity, ill intent, certainly not doing any kind of long-term planning. Always seems to be a short-term goal, short-term results and feel-good stuff to fill this ginormous, out-of-control, empathetic mass of energy that you're throwing at everything. And that makes everything a victim, makes everything an oppressed, and the oppressor is whoever they figure out has been doing the oppression.
Well, look, I'll make this clear, right? I have nothing against gay people. I've got a lot of gay friends over my years. You know, I've known, and I still know gay people. Not a problem. Keep it to your bedroom. You don't have to advertise it. And all these gay people don't walk around in public saying, "Hello, darlings." You know, I mean, what's the statement? What's the statement? You know, I mean,
I'm going to call you out. That's noble, but we all know that's bullshit.
Exactly.
Why is porn one of the biggest industries in revenue around the world, and the majority of the content consumption? There's more content out there to consume. people, bitch about YouTube rightly for its sensorial activities of, trying to sequester the ones who really have done the research and have information that's worth consideration and could possibly turn over the establishment, which is in great need. But I digress. The knowledge apocalypse is happening. Everybody is seeing the bullshit. They're looking at the words, which are the language is the operating system of the mind. They're getting these words hurled at them that are painted in a whole nother color, got a whole nother construct around them than what you ever thought it did. And it changes things. The whole simple things that are used and abused, but little understood and differentiated. And that's equality and equity. Those two things mean completely different things. But those who have grabbed it, weaponized it, and tossed it into a nice little package of wrapped in shit are serving that up all the time. So it's like if you're going to go to the Coney Island and you've only got one hot dog stand, every time you go in and out, you're going to probably hit that hot dog stand.
Oh, you're going to make a fortune. You'll make a fortune owning it too. But let's get to another subject, which I know it's a delicate one with you, and you like to get your teeth into this one, Robert. It's where women.
No.
Now, we love women. We respect women.
Yes.
We do. I know I do. I respect women. I if I see a woman and she's attractive, I'll say she's attractive and I'll be polite to her and everything else. Now, when women complain, that's all men think about. And why is that man staring at me? And why is that man wolf whistling at me and all that shit? And how offended I am that he's wolf whistling. Well, I turn around and say, if you don't want a bloke wolf whistling at you, stop wearing yoga pants down the street and a T-shirt with half your tits hanging out. And then maybe they won't whistle at you. And actually, one thing about yoga pants, women look absolutely fantastic in yoga pants. If they've got the right bod. But if you're going to dress like that, expect eyes and heads to turn.
Hey, you ought to see me in a pair of yoga pants. I mean, come on.
No, thank you. Thank you. No,
I'm just going to put that image out there for you to just roll around in your noggin.
Hey,
but that reminds me, Terry, of that saying that I think it's from the South, and it was something about if you don't want your critters pet, don't dress your barn like a petting zoo.
Exactly.
Right?
That's a good one.
Exactly.
Hey, so I mean, the thing is that there's this messaging, and it's happened to men too. Let's start with the men, B, and then because we're short, we're simple, we're not really complicated. It's pretty simple. So we'll get through those because you were mentioning, the women, and that subject has some very interesting data that's in that melee of the masses. And when you look at it, you kind of go, wait a minute, there's some trend analysis going on here. So let's get to that. But let's start with the men. Come on, guys. The simplest thing is what we prefer, where we resonate, where we guide. We have our box of our stuff. And then we have this thing called a nothing box. And we go in there, there's nothing in that box. And we go there and we hang out because we don't want to think about anything. We want to find nothing. Visits to that box have become probably more rare than they ever have been. And getting to the box is even the bigger challenge. But the idea is that, we are on and off mostly. There's varying degrees of gray in that slider there, the power level. But we're very simple. We have what it's appeared to be innate characteristics in our nature as being a testosterone-based carbon unit. We have these things that we tend to have a more general proclivity for, which is not only surviving, but hunting and making survival comfortable, making it doable, making it something that accommodates yourself and whatever crew or brood you've accumulated. So that's just the way we function. Now, that has worked extremely well for millennia. Yeah, there's the extremes on, this hierarchy and this patriarchal system, whatever, it just took a total shit, was an asshole, blah. Yeah, okay, yeah, there's a lot of that. Genghis Khan comes to mind. But for the most
There's
part,
good and bad. There's good and bad on both sides. I mean, you can't get away with it. Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean,
There's extremes, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
And it's the extremes that all too often, unfortunately, get their actions and definitions get piled on the general. So that it doesn't matter if you just show an inkling of identification or support or an allegiance or alliance with some particular group, then that can cause you a whole lot of shit, because you're like, well, we that group and us don't get along. We have a long historical beef because of nasty things that were done on both sides centuries ago that our parents went through, but we didn't. But we still want to make sure that everybody remembers this shit our way, our story, the way we see it. It's where you look at all these, everything is packaged so that it causes frustration and anxiety, and that those come from confusion. So the confusion about gender, about identity, about just
image. It's all
the image is what we were started to go with.
Yeah.
So we'll head down. That's a nice segue into so men are simple, but we've been screwed because we've been fed a bunch of shit. But in the gut, we are still going to kind of go, I'm going to grind through this and get on the other side, because that's just our nature. That's in our nature in varying degrees, but that's just how we function. That's what kind of drives us. Women have a lot of completely different yet similar things that they have to deal with. And I
call it maintenance.
Yeah, that's one.
Maintenance, I call it. Makeup, hair extensions, eyeliners, eyebrows, bloody eyelashes, high heel shoes, padded bras. And it goes on. Carry on, Rob.
Well, I think Jim was giving you a big nod on that.
Yeah.
And then why can't men just be themselves?
Dude, have you seen the men that are out there right now? They don't look like the guys that I know we grew up with.
They don't know who they
at
are.
all. I mean, true. I look at them and I'm going, can you start a push mower, and do you know what that is? Because there's the only thing that you start a push mower with is you grab on the handles and you push it.
Yeah.
And that requires effort and coordination and some kind of ability to get something started and finish it.
Getting your hands dirty.
Oh God. So I actually let's dive a little bit more into the trends that I'm seeing in the estrogen based carbon units of the humanity that we share. So I've been noticing I'd say I've seen it about 8, maybe 10 years ago. I started noticing it. It seemed like there was this rise of this, not necessarily a masculine feminine, but kind of a strong feminine. We started to see more women in politics, and you get all the celebrities, of course, depending on how mentally or unstable or unstable they are. Yeah, there seems to be this rise of women. There was just a lot of women everywhere, and it was like, well, this is cool. Some of them were not real pleasant. Others were like, it's just like in the 70s. I'm sure all of us had the poster of Farrah Fawcett in the bathing suit.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
yeah,
that was just what we grew up on, and we went, well, yeah, maybe one of these days, but if not, that sure is awesome. So women over the last 10 years, I've seen more of them in places of positions and authorities where it was traditionally, a bunch of old white guys like us. And they started their school boards, city councils, all kinds of stuff. And then as more have been around, there seems to be a more empathetic approach, which I guess you would call expected potentially or natural, to whatever the system, however the system worked. The system had however flawed, it manages and managed things that were important to be managed for a lot of people to benefit. Banks, grocery stores, transportation, all that stuff.
Hey, excuse me for a moment, Rob.
Yeah.
I just want to say, anybody wants to jump in, I've just put a link. They can jump in on the panel if they want. The link is StreamYard.com. Okay, so you'll see it there in the chat. If you want to come in and give you 10 cents worth, you're more than welcome. As long as you keep it
I got
in line with us. When we don't mind a little bit of cursing and cussing sometimes on this show. We are truth seekers. Hey, we don't pull back the punches. We speak our mind because that's what it's all about. Anyway, I like to put it back to Rob. Sorry about that. Yeah, click on the link if you want to join us. Okay, Rob.
I'll be back in about a minute.
Okay, 1 minute. You're timing, mate. We're counting.
So, one of the things that I wanted to make sure I took the opportunity to hijack and plug more of my shit. I have my YouTube channel that I started for my record label.
All right.
And I wanted to share that so that people can see it. And I think it would be, what are we on? About $1.40. Yeah, I need to refill my libation as well. So how about I'm going to play this track, and it's about 4 or 5 minutes, and we'll use that as an intermission, and everybody can go drain the veins and refill the growls. So what do you think?
Yep, fair enough. Put it on.
All right. So I'm going to share the screen, I guess. Let's see here. That one.
If anybody wants to join us, just click on the link.
Okay, so do you see that?
Yes, I see it. Okay, here we go.
So this is my indie label that I started 25 years ago, and I put all of the releases.
And you got a T-shirt on too that says intuitive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I had to work that in, man. I was thinking, I didn't know I was going to find it, and then I didn't know I was going to wear it, and then I didn't know I was going to want to show my label on the show, and I went, well, shit, we got a little sync going on here. That's sweet.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So these are the 6 releases that I've got up. There's another 6 or 7 that I'm working on. And each one of these are the full CDs like we would sell on the site and on the various platforms. So I wanted to play one that and kind of get, I hope Jane's still out there. I wanted to get play this for her and see what she thinks. So this is Emerging, and this CD is used by massage therapists.
All right.
Oh, there we go. So do you see that there?
Yes, I see it.
All right. Let me see if this will tell me if you got sound.
Yes, I think, yes. Yes, drop down.
See if it's all the way up. Okay, I'm going to get a refill. I'll be right back. Enjoy, please.
Oh, go be crackling a bit there.
Uh-oh.
And it stopped. Robert.
Is it crackling?
It stopped now. It stopped. It was crackling and then it stopped.
Let's try it again. You hear it?
Yeah, a little bit of crackle there, though. Yeah, it's crackling, I think. Breaking up a little.
I don't hear anything on this end. Jim, do you hear it?
Yeah, it's crackling. It's
okay. Let me refresh it here and see what happens.
G'day, Jane. How are you, sweetie? Jane's here.
Is that any better?
No.
Still crackling.
We're still static. Yeah.
Okay. Let me try a different one here. Oh,
If anybody in chat want to come in and join us, by all means, click on the StreamYard link in chat. What's this at stage? There we go.
where'd he go? There it is. All right, so have a listen to what Greg has to say about the whole DEI thing. You know, DEI is we were talking about the importance of the definition of words, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So D is the diversity, E is equity, and I is inclusion, which is basically a set of massaged words into a nice little package to basically say it's not merit or best suited. It is what fits the normalized norm. So you're not getting, it's no longer on merit and the best fit for the requirements. Those can be discarded because it has to be diverse. There's equity at play and it's inclusive. Well, at the end of the day, basically what they're saying in this new standard is didn't earn it.
Yep. And yeah, there's some people are now saying, well, this is the new N word.
Yes. Colonizer. That's another one. Damn colonizer. It's like, what? All right. Well, let's see if the audio is any better on this.
Still static.
Is that better?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Well, cancel that then.
Well, you go and get your drink. Jim, tell us about what's happening in Belize. Any news? Exciting?
I'll be right back.
I was planning on going on them as soon as they went back, but because my son comes in on Monday for a week, and then on the 20th, he leaves on the 7th. On the 20th of April, I go to Seattle for a week. My best friends have a knee replacement.
Right.
Yeah, I get home on the 27th. I get on the I hit the road on the 9th of May to go to end up in Reno on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And from there, I'm going to go to Bob Lazar's. But
so you're going to be unavailable for about 3 weeks, are you?
Well, it depends where I'm at, depending if they have a good, strong signal. I think it would be fun to do one at Bob's, but I don't know. I don't know if he would go on the air.
Well, you can come on. You can just go and go, hi everybody, and just walk away if you want.
Yeah, that may work, but no, I won't. I won't even. I will take some video of him and I'll have Joy film us as he's showing me his lab. We're going to wander around through the whole thing, and but no,
that's S5, isn't it? That's S5. Is that?
Yeah, that one's S5. Yeah. And when hell was I at? Joel Christopher Payne, who's my friend Disney artist. He's also a video game designer and a bunch of other stuff. He's really a very talented guy. Besides being almost 6'5", he sort of stands out in the crowd. He and Tess, I think it's Cacciatore, are they're going to join Jared Murphy and Tom Elmore in Belize, and they're going to do some initial drone flying and video they're gonna have a group of villagers start clearing some of the brush and stuff around the base of the pyramids. So we're gonna have that, and then they can do a real powerful 2-minute piece on it, and hopefully it'll get in front of some of the right people.
Yeah.
We thought we had something nailed down, and the guy at the very last minute, so I charge $1,000 a day. He said, well, that's not what you were saying yesterday. He said, I'm coming regardless on it and to use some of his own shooting. So I don't know. It is what it is.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if somebody's got the balls, as say, they get out there. I mean, I personally think it's something that will put somebody, put them on their feet. That type of show, I mean, it's sometimes you got to give a little to get back a little too. You know what I mean? And to say I want $1,000 a day, I mean, hey, come on. At the end of the day, the reputation can make him a lot more. I mean. Yeah, and that's a fact. I mean, it's a what that belief is going to be a one in a lifetime thing, And if you find something really tangible like treasure or what, I mean, you don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know what you're going to find. Find a mummy. Hey, what happens if you find a bloody an alien mummy or whatever? I mean, or something. Mate, it's going to be.
That would be beyond shit hot.
Exactly. And $1,000 a day, it looked petty, mate. It looked petty. You know what I mean? No.
So there's
I mean, hey, wouldn't it be nice to get $1,000? You're doing it, the love of doing it. You're going down it because it's an adventure. Why do people have to get greedy all the freaking time? Well, I mean, what's the point? As you say, he wasn't talking about that shit yesterday. Now he's talking about $1,000 a day. I mean,
yeah.
Goodbye.
So,
well, there's always opportunists, right? And I was talking to John Sari on that conversation, and we were talking about how the way in which all the communication is in an audible and visual form. Right, the majority of it, 90% of the data that we take in is audio and visual, sound and light. Sound and light is the fundamentals of everything that we experience and that we do, like what we're doing right now. All of this, what we're doing right now, is because of sound and light.
Yeah.
And realizing
and my good looks, you know what I mean?
Well, this wouldn't be a show without that. And I did the hairdresser and the makeup artist quit, or are they just on break this week? What's going
just
on?
call the power of positive thinking.
You're going to will yourself to a badass.
Fake it until you make it, as they say.
So I think that what we're seeing, going back to this subject of what my observations are in the estrogen-based carbon unit field, because it is a wide field. Pun kind of intended, not intentional, but it came out that way. There's been a growing group, what do they call it? A gaggle?
Yeah.
That have kind of become a hub of the consciousness that's floating about the estrogen base. Okay, because you got to remember, men, we've got our own channels of communication and that whole separate thing, and women have got theirs just like we got ours, and it's two completely different things. And when they merge, it can be beautiful, it can be disastrous, and anything
Totally
in
different.
That's nuclear fission, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. That kind of, that vaporizing neutrino bomb kind of shit where everything disappears.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, stuff. Yeah.
Well, there's a great clip. There's a guy, can't think of his name, and we can play that here. It's the perfect idea, the explanation of just a simple form of what's going on. And after this, then I'll go into my observations of what I think is a trend analysis that is very alarming for both species, for both genders of our species. But it's something that is now, it's just kind of blatant. It's obvious. It's all over the place. So let's play this first, because this is really good. Hold on. Can't think of the guy's name, but he's really good. All right, so here it is. This is, hopefully the audio will be okay. Okay, and let's try it again. Hey, wake up over there.
There we go.
All right, tell me if the audio is coming through okay.
Discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from
Yep, it's okay.
It's okay?
We can understand. Hold it. His voice is gone.
Okay.
We got a box for the money. We got a box for the job. We got a box for you. We got a box for the kids. We got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch.
Breaking up, no noise, no sound. Robert.
Can you hear it now?
No.
We open the box.
Now
We discuss only what is in that box.
Yep.
All right? And then we close the box, put it away.
Audio gone again.
Yeah, the audio's gone.
Audio's gone?
Yeah.
Can you hear it, Gerald?
No.
All right. Damn it. I don't know what's going on. It's an extremely funny piece.
I've seen it before. It is a hoot.
Yes, I've seen it before too.
It really, for me, it speaks to this. Not only
it's how women are different and men are different, and we don't.
Well, it's how we think. Yeah. It's what the hormonal. We don't have the things like desire and intent, and wanting to pursue something, having a real strong attraction to something, without hormones being involved. Hormones are the spice that goes into our neural system that animates us to go do the shit we do, and these fucking hormones come in and they take over. And all of a sudden, you're doing shit for love that you never thought you would, but by God, you're doing it now.
Yeah. Go yell at some little lady. Hey, show me your tits.
Yeah. It's like as you say, our testosterone is to be the man of the house to protect our family and things like that. That's what we do. But women, they marry men and they want to change us. They want to remold us.
Well. So to that point, just as another data point, if you will, I think this axiom has a lot of truth in it. Women marry men hoping they will change. Men marry women hoping they won't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because the nature of the nurture, of the mama nurture, is to herd and to, get in line. And, how many of us didn't know that we had, for decades, we had no idea how to load a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Correctly.
women like to organize. And
I was the dishwasher growing up.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
So, there's a general nature that of the two biological genders that is being tweaked and screwed with big time. And I'm going to start with the women and then go to the men, because I think what's happening is the men are being affected by the women. So this rise of all these women that I've been noticing for the last decade in all kinds of positions of authority and responsibility throughout government, school systems, everything, financial institutions, everything, tech companies. There's been a general trend that the way that they've governed and executed the administration responsibilities that they have has been much more empathetic than it was with the old white guys. The old white guys were mostly pragmatic. In fact, the really successful ones are famous for being hard asses. Jack Welch, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all these guys were, their rep inside was, holy fuck, here he comes. So that was when we had the last over through the 90s into the early 2000s was the last real, in my observation and opinion, period of innovation, of shit that was like, whoa, look at that. When I was doing my tech career in the mid 90s, I dropped in just before the internet. I was on the internet using the BBSs, for those of you that knows what those were. I was dialing into the computer center at Champaign-Urbana from northern Illinois, south of Chicago, and I'd get onto these chat boards and I'd download all kinds of shit. I had a 2.5 inches of 14 7/8 by 11 green bar continuous form paper that was nothing but telephone numbers around the world to all these BBSs. I had passcodes and all that stuff. But in the 90s, I stumbled into tech, and all of a sudden here comes this little wave, and I got, I'm going to get on that. Oh, Heidi, yeah, enjoy it. So what's happened what I'm seeing as a trend is that the more women that have been in more positions of authority and responsibility, which were traditional, the old white guy, or hell, even the old color guy, whatever it might be, but there was a lot more of that going on than women. And then there was this surge, and they came in with what seems to be an ideology on the left of the spectrum of society, meaning they're the liberal, progressive, neoliberal, neo-progressive, left, Democrat, socialist, that kind of thing is where they thing their thing. That's where they thang their thing. Think about that. So my point is that as there has been more of them in those areas of responsibility and authority, they've executed their responsibility with more of an empathetic approach. That's why we see things like, bail has been removed, jail time has been removed, recidivism is like, we're not going to look at that. I mean, all this stuff, it's like letting the leash off of the beasts.
No, taking the muzzle off the beast. It's not the leash, it's the muzzle.
That too.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the stuff needs to be harnessed and tranquilized in some way, shape, or form. Which brings up the other thing that I see in the trend analysis. As we've seen this chaos in the across all institutions and all hierarchies and whatever, there's been a very significant rise of estrogen-based units involved in the navigation and management of these systems. That has come along with this ideology that is on this progressive side, this liberal side, and I'm all for the liberals because I was part of the original.
I'll be back in a minute. I'll be back. Continue. I'll be back in a minute.
All right, take your time. So I was part of that original liberal movement in Southern California in the 60s and 70s. Our whole thing was leave us alone. We're going to have free love and drugs and sex and rock and roll. And I signed up for that hard. I'm like, I want some of that.
I was a charter member.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I worked in Hollywood. I lived in all over the beach area. I started off in Manhattan. I was in Hermosa. I was in El Segundo, right on PCH, right where it where the road ends and the Pacific begins. And I hung out at a place called Poncho's and Cisco's, and it was just so much fun back then. I look back, and I can see where visions of Sodom and Gomorrah, or if people were looking down at the Friday USA, the first all singles apartment complex in the world. You had to be over 21, under 35, and single. And it was 360 of us, and there was a party going on somewhere 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was, we had our toga parties. Red Eye Liquor had 10 kegs of beer set aside for us for Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday during the day. You could call them up at 1:59:59 and they would deliver. It was fun. Killed a lot of brain cells.
So do you remember, and Gerald, when you were growing up, you guys, had the nickel and dime bags, right?
Yep.
And those could be anything from, good weed and flour to a little powder of this or that or something else.
Right.
Yeah. In 1983, in a 10-day period, I know we went through about $35,000 worth of Coke. And a buddy of mine was a wholesaler. He actually, he's
wait a minute. A wholesale Coke dealer?
He sold to wholesalers.
Oh man.
He was a major distributor.
He was the Mac Daddy.
Yeah. And he had remote starts in all his cars. He had his house swept for bugs 3 times a week at least. And when Alex and I were with Doc for 1983, September 1983, it was my 20-year high school reunion. And Doc said this is the first time in 7 years that he felt he could relax, because he knew we weren't undercover or a plant from a rival gang or whatever it is. It was just the 3 of us. And he said, not that much longer, later, he said he had to get out of it because this was for organized crime. And he says, and I'm not very organized. But it was, I was blessed to live through the best of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. I had the time of my life. I can't imagine anybody today, I don't care who you are, having as much fun as I did living in LA back in the 60s and growing up in the Bay Area during the 50s, the 40s and the 50s.
Nothing like it.
Oh, it was, when I went out in the morning, I told him, I'd say, "Hey, Ma, I'll be back when the street lights turn on. I'll be home within 5 or 6 minutes, depending on where I was at." And that was it. My mom we could have been run over by a bulldozer 5 minutes after we left the house. She wouldn't know it until lights, the street lights came on. And then but you didn't have to look for her. When my son was growing up, and this is in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and it was still fairly, there was a lot of deer in the area. My only concern was once when my son didn't come home on time, I know where he was playing, and I went there, and there was a big buck, had him treed. Every time the buck would go away and my son would start, come down off the tree, and he's about 7 or 8. The buck would come charging back in and he'd go back up on the tree. But I had a ship's bell on the front door. And there wasn't a big one. I mean, it was about this big on, at the opening. And I go in there, clang it a couple times. That means either my son James or my daughter Alicia, time to go home. And everybody knew it. Everybody knew it, said, "Oh, you better go home." Today's kids don't know what it's like to go out and get treed by a buck with about a 4 or 5 pointer. I mean, it was nice size. I think it was a whitetail, but it's that. I mean, I look back at what I did and where I went and sliding down the spillway at Stevens Creek Dam, not knowing what the hell was in the bottom down there, but hey, this looks like fun. And yeah, today's youth doesn't know.
Are we talking about doing dangerous things, are we, or what?
Well, I think stealing a train probably qualifies.
Yeah. I've dumped off high bridges into a river. Yeah, I've done it all.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember we were at it wasn't Fraser Lake, but it was up in the Sierra, Lake Hamilton or Hamilton Lake. It's at 9,000 feet. It's just south of Yosemite. We were Boy Scouts and we were going up to another area to camp out where we had to break the ice off the water in this one little quiet pond because it froze over at night. And we jump in there. And when you're 12 or 13 years old, today's kids, oh my God, first of all, their helicopter mother probably wouldn't allow them to go in there. To have a dry suit on with flotation devices. And they would have some way to heat up the water so their baby didn't get hit cold water. I mean, the world is, today's youth are a bunch of pussies. That's the best way to describe it.
Hey, my mates and I, we used to dig ourselves a tunnel like a cave into a side of a friggin' hill. It could cave in on you at any time, the dangerous things we used to do,
I mean, one of the fun things we did, there was Philco Ford, where my father was director of engineering. They were at San Antonio Road and Bayshore. They're in Palo Alto, right in the intersection, Palo Alto and Mountain View, Los Altos area. And up on Black Mountain, they had a big reflector, and this is like maybe a 40-foot by 40-foot platform that they used to calibrate their satellite tracking antennas that they were making there in Sunnyvale. Not Sunnyvale, in Palo Alto. So we went up on our bicycles, went up there and got a couple of the cranks, went zzz, then zzz, then left. And they couldn't figure out what the hell had happened to their antennas because they were all calibrated on Monday. On Friday and Monday they start checking, and they're not getting the signal back at all. So,
hey, Jim, here's an interesting story. As a kid, my mates and I used to go to the waterboard yard, and they had this massive big reservoir and a channel going through to a pumping station. And it was like the surge of water, and they used to pump all this water into the interior of Australia, to the outback to give them water. And we used to go and play there because they had cane fields there. And we used to cut the cane and make arrows and spears with the bloody thing. And of course, we had to climb over a barbed wire fence to get in there. And of course, when the security guard came around, here we are climbing over the fence. Terry, one particular day, was halfway over the fence, hooked on the bloody barbed wire, and this bloody prick of a bloody security guard opened up with a shotgun at me with saltpeter in it. And I end up with all this saltpeter right up my, and that purple dye in it. And there's Terry at the doctor's laying on his belly while the bloody doctor's picking out all the saltpeter out of his. My backside was blue ass.
Oh, that sounds like it hurt.
Yeah, it was like purple, blue color. It was more purple than blue, actually. Yeah, picking out all the salt. They're the things we used to do just to go and play, you know. Dangerous, you know. But we learned to dig a tunnel under the fence rather than go over it.
Yeah, we used to go to the junkyard, buy a roadable junk for $10. We'd knock out all the glass. We'd take it up past Whiskey Hill Road behind Stanford, and there was a fire trail through the Coast Mountains, and we'd wired the doors shut. You tied yourself in there with a rope, and the thing was how many times can you get there's a place that it was a fairly steep incline, and how many times can you roll the car? Everybody throw in $1 or 50 cents, and whoever rolled over the most number of times. We had about 4 or 5 cars up there, and after a while there's getting to be quite a bit. We only did that one summer.
We were suicidal those days, weren't we?
Yeah. Well, the other thing, we would go to Devil's Slide on Pacific Coast Highway outside of San Francisco, and it's 500 feet down to the bottom, and the road goes. It's like a big snake. It's just following the coastline, but the road is way up, and you can see cars coming for a couple of miles. And what we cut a silhouette of a person we had in this car. We had a wire on the throttle where we could just pull it and the car would take off. And we'd wait till we see a car just going around. We know they're coming around the next bend, and what they're going to see is this 47 Ford 2-door Lux airborne going down 500 feet. And I mean, there's no way they could get there fast enough to see if anybody survived. We were laughing so hard.
Hey, Jim, my mate, I have a good friend of mine, Ross Smith, when I was a kid growing up, mate. And I tell you, I'll be in front of this massive big kangaroo waving a stick in its face, taking its attention. And Ross used to sneak up behind and jump on and hug it. And you think you're riding a bull's great, mate. You should see me, mate. I used to piss myself laughing watching me mate riding a bucking kangaroo, mate. Hey, those things will kill you, mate, if they turn on you. Because they got claws like that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
They just rip you open. But Ross arms around and the bloody kangaroo, mate, they can jump those bloody things. I tell you, we're talking about jump. They can jump. Oh, mate, memory. Oh God.
So I have one of those. You guys really did that stories? So this was in high school, or I just got into high school, and I lived in a neighborhood where they had these streets that kind of meandered a little bit, but there was 2 that joined right where my house was. So, and then down at the end where they joined, there was a park. So it was just awesome in my teens. Well, on the other side of the street that joined where we were was the aqueduct. And so it's the LA aqueduct. This thing is ginormous concrete spillway that never has any water in it. So we would go out there, we'd ride our bikes. We had our 5-speed Stingray, Murrays, and, we're doing races. We got the playing cards with the clothespin on the spokes, and we are hell raisers. We are tearing up the aqueduct, right? So a couple of guys had the bright idea of getting some CO2 cartridges, because we had the air rifles that had been used, and cut the ends off, and then take match heads and just cut the match heads off the matchstick and just pack them into that little CO2 cartridge. So we'd fill those things up, pack them real tight, and then we stuck one match out the ass end of it. and then we took a straw and we taped it to the cartridge. So we put a bunch of tape around it, and then we took a 500-foot string, ran it through that straw, and one guy would hold it on one end with a lighter, and the other guy was hanging on the other end with the catcher's mitt. So we lit these things, and it was like this little, it was awesome. Just sailed down that string. And, you know, I was on the receiving end on a couple of them, and they just made them to me. Fortunately, it was either lack of fuel or the length, but it wasn't what it could have been, because I was holding that mitt going, he's going to light that thing, and it's going to come right for me, and I'm gone.
Hey, Johnny, has anybody ever blown up any letterboxes with firecrackers?
Yeah, done a few of those.
I've blown up a lot. My neighbors hated me.
Hey, there was some brothers up in Los Altos Hills. Their favorite thing to do was take out mailboxes with their truck, and they go down Page Mill or whatever it was, and they would take out 15 or 20 mailboxes, and they would wait a month or 2 months and then come back and do it again. And some guy boxed a piece of railroad track. It looked like a 6x6 post, but it was actually
a Rio bar.
1x6 on there, and he hit it doing about 40. And this is like a 40 Willys pickup truck, and but it had a big wooden bumper on it, and it about destroyed the front of that car, because I don't know how many cubic yards of concrete he had in the base of that.
Oh, mate, I can just imagine the damage.
Yeah, but
I got you bastards, he said.
Well, yeah, I mean, the class of '62 at Los Altos High School took Mr. Tamney's school car, and over the weekend dismantled it and reassembled it back on the roof of the school. They took it apart piece by piece and reassembled it on the roof. And the principal and superintendent of schools and the dean of boys, Mr. Tamney, said that the class of '62 would not have a graduation until that car was back on the ground, running correctly.
That sounds appropriate. Did it get done, and was the lesson learned?
Yeah, no, it got done, but we had a lot. I mean, everybody worked on cars back then.
Yeah.
You look down.
You remember changing engines out on the curb in the street?
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yes, I've done that. 386, 286 engines, mate. I've done it all.
289s, 327s here.
Yeah. Rip the head off, do the valves, do everything on it, you know?
So that takes us back to the trend analysis on the estrogen-based carbon units and what seems to be happening as a result of their inherent nature and characteristics, with a heavy dose of manipulation, steerage, and nefarious shit.
Yeah, and different size bloody ballerina shoes. Yeah, I know.
And they have a condition referred to as can't understand normal thinking.
That's right. Where's my safe?
Send all letters to Jim Goodall at idon'tgiveashit.com.
Where's my safe zone? My feelings are getting friggin' hurt. Where is my safe zone?
Yeah, so I got your safe zone.
Yeah. Right on the tip of my boot.
One of the things that I think may not be appreciated as much as it should, and I could be wrong, but it seems like the whole idea of women being the victims of men, which has certainly got a boatload of empirical information and data. I mean, that's just kind of our nature. We are aggressive, go get things kind of done, or sequestered, acquired, or whatever it might be. But
neutered.
yeah, but I know the women. I don't know. I'd like to hear some feedback on this, but it seems to me that it's actually the situation is exactly the opposite. Men are deathly afraid of women. We are so afraid of women that we will do stupid shit without even thinking about it. And we will do it willingly, even though we know we shouldn't be doing this.
Well, the difference between the difference between men and women are women network. Blokes don't go to their mates and say, "My wife's hitting me, my wife's bashing me up." Men don't do that shit. Women go to their girlfriend. Women go to their girlfriends and they network. The women will say, "I wouldn't put up with this, and I wouldn't put up with that."
Terry, it's not a network; it's a support group. Yeah. And it's a support group of a bunch of people that have the same fucking problem. So all they do is they go there, they amplify each other's shit, and they come back and unleash more shit. They got more power to do their thing. But let's not get sidetracked. Yeah. The whole reality is women, the meme is women are afraid of men for good reason. But in general, they've been afraid of men. The reality is men are scared to fucking death of women. And we protect ourselves by being, more in that man mode that seems to irritate some women, especially the ones that have adopted an ideology that is in this neo-lib progressive set. They have this. Their definition of men are generally categorized as more effeminate, more submissive, less controlling, less in my way. And if you want the goods, you're going to have to acquiesce to my request. And here's this laundry list. And oh, by the way, and see the clause down there, can change at a moment's notice with no reason. So there's this mindset that they bring to the relationship of a testosterone-based carbon unit. The carbon-based units that are testosterone-oriented have been taking a shitload of shit. They have been charged and accused and pummeled with, you can't be toxic in your masculinity. In other words, you can't be manly man. You must be womanly man. In fact, we got some clothes for you. And we've got some hairstyles for you. Oh, and we've got some music for you. Oh, we've got this whole thing that helps you question who you are. Did you really think you were a man and you were attracted to women? No, you're really a woman in a man's body. And we've got the answer for you. Because your genitals at birth don't define you, but changing them does. So you have this cacophony of crap.
So Robert, just how do you come out with it? But
there's this cacophony of crap that's been tossed in as ginormous turds in the conversation of life.
And if you complain and stand up for yourself, you're an asshole.
There's an endless supply of it, it seems. But the thing that it is definitely going on is that it's all reused code. It's all the same shit. It's just got more light, more sound, more in your face. The first thing that for me, when I see shit coming my way and it's loud and there's volume and velocity and it's got an emotional anger to it, then it's like very imperative kind of thing. It's like, you're the first one I want to parry off to the side. You go screw with somebody else. I'm going this way, because all that is chaos and trouble. Well, that is also a part of this characteristic of the rise of the feminine estrogen carbon unit in society. And the thing that makes it more challenging for them as a data point, and in my opinion, there are two things that our society in this groupthink thing have done that has severely affected women. Originally meant for the betterment and from a positive intent, I think, First one is birth control. The chemical change in the birth control biology and the chemical constitution of it changes the woman's hormones. Because that's what it needs to do so that the pregnancy doesn't occur. Well, the emotions, as I said earlier, are the things that we express through hormones and the hormone interaction with our nervous system or neurology. So women have been taking this for 4 decades, 5 decades now. And so you've got a couple of generations of women that have gone through this chemical affliction, possibly. It's been passed on, and it. So there's that. And the other thing is, when you look at the numbers could be wrong, but they're supposed to be official. When you look at the consumer statistics for things like Xanax, depression medication, over 80% of the prescriptions are for women 25 to 50. Our women are being overly medicated. They've been given this brain stain of a thought worm that has given them this perspective of reality that doesn't have anything to do really with who they are. It's to repackage them for this male beast that's running around too toxically masculine. It's like, well, what's going on here? Is something there? If this isn't intentional, then the universe is having a good laugh at it.
Yeah, and the reality of it all, when shit hits the fan, is like, honey, can you do this for me? Honey, can you do that for me? It happens.
So the other thing that's happened, and this goes back to tying us poor, unappreciated, discounted, and sequestered and submitted male testosterone carbon units. This whole thing to effeminate men. You got to get in touch with your divine masculine and your divine feminine. In fact, your divine feminine is apparently out of whack. You need to go fix your feminine because you are not acting in the feminine way. You are not emanating enough empathy as would be expected in an estrogen-based carbon unit. So wait a minute. Oh, yeah. You've got all that junk, that ding-a-lang and all that stuff that pumps testosterone into you and makes you the male, right? Well, we'll take all that out. We'll get rid of that hormone that your system has grown up, has developed into and been totally used to and figures, okay, this is the way I work. And we're going to flip that around and give you this other thing that rewires everything. Everything gets completely reparameterized. It gets a new definition, a new set of rules, a new set of habits that it must maintain in order for it to be not replaced. Because if those habits are violated, then replacement is most surely on the table. So men have they've been told to be more feminine. They've been berated to be feminine. At their deepest core, the manliest man is deathly afraid of a woman. They won't admit it, but it is innate. You see some badass woman coming your way and you're some giant gladiator, you're going to stop and go, what? You're going to have a pause on that.
Even though my wife's only 4'11", mate, she scares the shit out of me.
My mom was 100% Sicilian. She was born in Halloween. You didn't fuck with that woman. She was 5 foot tall. And all she had to do was, I was about 11 or 12 years old, and we're battling, my mom and dad were battling the planning commission. They wanted to build high rises right next to the residential, which was against city and county ordinances. But they were trying to do some Swiss, funny stuff. And this one guy on the planning commission was a big guy. I mean, he was almost, he was about the same size as my dad. He was about 6'5", about 400 pounds. And my mom had the microphone, and this guy gets up and said, "Look here, Mrs." And my mom just looked at him, and the guy turned this color gray and sat down and didn't say anything else. So I know what it's like to grow up with an incredibly strong female person in the household, my mom.
I got to tell you, I went through over the last several years a revisit and a reexamination and rediscovery of my relationships throughout my life that I have had. And I looked at everything from my grandmother to my daughters. And I have a new baby granddaughter who'll be a year in a week. And she is just, the pictures and her awesomeness. We've done some Zoom calls. And she's like, she's not even here. She's waving to grandpa and looking at me going, "Oh, who's that old crazy dude on the other end of this thing?" So I looked at all of them individually and collectively, and I realized that they had some common characteristics, which is something that you often find when you go do observation and do it as neutral as possible with whatever the hell it is you're trying to think about. Because chances are when you do that, you're going to find stuff that you thought that you were told and you thought were true that aren't. And you have those little, bolts from the blue and this awakening is like, holy shit, something I thought was just the way it is, it was the way it isn't. Because there's a lot of that going on right now, and there's going to be even more of it. We are at the beginning of the rise of the didn't see that coming for a lot of people. So the characteristic I realized of all of the women, the feminine based carbon units in my life, they were all hard heads. They were all just stubborn as shit. And they all were on my ass. Every one of them. My daughters, my grandmother to my daughters that I know, every one of them was always, "Dad, Robert, hey." And so I'm thinking, why was that common characteristic across all the major, feminine relationships in my life?
Yeah, my wife thinks I'm a total arsehole. But
mine weren't telling me that.
But I don't argue. Yeah, you're right.
Mine were telling me that I would be an asshole if I didn't do what they said.
Yeah.
It was, hey, you need to straighten your shit up. You need to stop smoking weed. You need to. The playing the guitar is not going to get.
Why?
You need to go. You need this. You need that. Stop dressing like that. Here's a broom and an iron. If I come over to your house and it's dirty and your clothes are wrinkled, we're going to have a talk. I mean, all that. So. That's how. So all the women were like, relationship, everything. And I'm like, well, what is it about me that's making you do that? I mean, you obviously you're either your family or you love me or something. And it was just their characteristic.
I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me that gets that treatment. So that's something every man gets.
Well, no, none of it. Well, there was a couple of relationships that were semi-abusive in that we were martial arts students and that's how we met. And so we beat the shit out of each other. That's how we met each other, was beating the shit out of each other. And then we got into a relationship and then beat the shit out of each other. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to rethink the dating thing, going to these dojos and learning martial arts. But anyway, so what I'm seeing is there seems to be a lot more women that are in higher responsibility and authority positions, that the memory, the morphogenesis, which is what Sheldrake talks about, is the memory in nature. And so it gives energetic form and characteristics to that which unfolds. Acorn becoming an oak tree, corn growing. Everything starts from this quanta, and as it gets kicked off, it starts to grow, and it's being pulled to its existence, to its manifestation. So women right now in all these positions and running all this shit, they've been screwed up on with different drugs for decades. Now they have all these psychological drugs, which are being topped off on top of that. And what we see right now is a bunch of batshit crazy women that are just trashing shit all over the place because they can. And that's a generalization, and it's not all women, but I'm seeing that attitude from women is cascading over to men, and the men have been pussified more so than they actually were or ever were before because of all these masculinated feminines. And they started off with, you know, the equal rights and the feminism is like, okay, that's noble, but you got out over your skis and you caused this cascading cap of catastrophe. It's just nothing but crap. It's like, wait a minute, you're pissing everybody off. You're angry at people because they're not doing what you want, and you're double angry because they are angry with you now.
But this is definitely a man's cave tonight, isn't it?
Well, I'm not trying to disparage anything. I'm trying to just call out the data as I see it.
Yeah,
there are trends, and it seems like the women right now that there's too much empathy in society, which has given rise to the genders and the afflicted and the victim class and all these other things that they've made up so that they can use them to herd the sleeple. And of course, people wonder why they're losing their minds, why they're confused, why they have to take Xanax and drugs like that so they can deal with it. And so the women have been the most affected.
And the good women have to fight through this shit, you know. The good women
have been the most affected, and we're not doing anything to help them.
I have to run. I don't want to, but I have to.
No, who said you have to?
Hey, I have a wife that lets me do incredible things.
Oh, fair enough.
Most wives wouldn't allow. I mean, would have an absolute fit over. Yeah. So
fair enough, Jim. I think we've been on for just over 2.5 hours. I think we might just call it quits too. Hey, what do you reckon, Rob?
So
2.5 hours.
You know, Harold, Robert, Terry.
Till next time, mate. Are you available next week? You're still around next week?
Well, my son will be in town, so he may sit next to me.
That'd be great. We need two of you. We don't have enough shit
Actually,
you need to double up, buddy.
There's 3 James Goodalls. There were 5. My grandfather, my dad, me, my son, and my grandson James. So.
We agree with you there, Susie Q. Not all girls are like that, mate. Not all girls are broads.
Yeah. So I'm going to go. You guys stay out of trouble.
You too.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
I'll talk to you later. Adios.
Bye-bye now. But the thing is, we get back to it, you know, I mean, women get a raw deal too, just like blokes. And as Susie Q would say, not all women are broads, and that's a fact. They're not, you know. I mean,
well, it's the same thing with not all guys are assholes.
Exactly.
There is a class of ass on both sides of the gender line. There's ass everywhere. And what's that old thing about, ass, gas, or grass? Nobody rides for free.
Yeah. See, Women Network. As I said, women network. And they talk, and women know more. They know better. I mean, they hear their girlfriends talk. They hear them talk about their husbands.
Think about it, though. Think about it, though, Terry.
If the wife found out you talked about them the same way, you've got no respect.
That's just their bullshit. But you think about it, the going and talking to their friends, and there's not a network. There's a little clique. I think they don't do the whole click thing but what happens is they go and they have a friend that they can cry on their shoulder, right? And eat chocolates and bitch about relationships and all that stuff,
or drink wine and all that stuff. Yeah, we know
that person is also probably most likely gone through and is going through the same shit that the person who's come to talk to him for. So now you got 2 of them sitting there for the same reason, working each other up. I mean, there is nothing good that's going to come out of that for
And they
anybody,
go and
particularly
say,
the
I'm
guy
not
that's
putting up
involved.
with it, not taking any more. That's what they do.
Well, so let me see if I can kind of wrap up my thing, because I've been blathering on about this. It seems to me that we have a mental illness that is particularly acute in the female population of the planet. That mental illness is a result of decades of drugs, psychological bullshit, and now a whole set of psychological pharmaceuticals that are just handed out like fucking candy. And the women are the ones that have the higher emotional content, particularly empathy. And when they feel that and those hormones kick off, that is a fireball looking for a place to land. We all know that. They know that.
Yeah.
So our women folk they've been mistreated big time. They've been given a line of bullshit that is fucked with their biology and their psychology. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a bunch of batshit crazy women, just all the stuff that's going on. Forget about the political side of it. All the stuff that is going on with Trump, all these investigations and lawsuits. I'm no lawyer, but when I look at just the basic comparison of here's the charges, here's what the law says, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to have to do that and look at it yourself and figure it out. You'll get some kind of indication. But the problem is that nobody's got time to look at that.
Because I agree with Susie Q there.
Yep, Susie saying, yep, she knows.
I agree with you, Susie. I mean, all the pill, I mean.
That's what the birth control does, is it screws with the hormones.
Exactly. And of course, look, I'm sure there's blokes out there that go home and beat up their wives. And there's men that goes home and takes a lot too, and take a lot to the point where the bubble bursts and he loses it. I mean, but then again, women can put up with a lot too, and that's something we've got to admit that men. I mean, if the hormones are playing up and the drugs you take and like the medication you take for birth control is affecting your hormones and everything else. I mean, you ask a woman once a month, she'll sit down and don't know why the hell she's crying. Oh, I'm upset. Or she gets very on that PMTs, like that premenstrual tension, just bang, just kind of just lets out. She doesn't mean it. And then she goes through that midlife crisis, change of life, where she'll sit there and cry and she doesn't know why she's crying. She feels all sad and upset. Why? Because she's getting old and they're all hormones and the body's changing. It's honestly, as my father would say, how can a woman bleed for a week and not die? But again, I mean, I'd be honest with you, mate. I wouldn't like to be, from a male perspective. I don't think I could put up being like a woman. I mean, what they have to put up with, sore breasts, sore belly, sore everything. Every periods once a month, your mood's just flying in every direction. Honestly, that must be so confusing to their line of thought.
Well, the thing is that, as I was saying, it's hormones that the emotions get their energy from. So, the fight or flight, adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, all of these things they affect the way we think, and therefore the way we react. Well, women, my point is that women have been screwed with for decades, and now they've pushed forward. They've gotten more presence in society in administrative and authoritative roles, but they've got there, and now they got all this wacky shit going on because of the hormone manipulation that they've been through. And in order to mitigate some of the hormone stuff, they give you more hormone therapy with these antidepressant, strange psychological drugs that put you into the state of kinda or whatever it is. And I've seen my relationships with women have had several of them that had varying degrees of all those kind of medications. So I watched this stuff and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be taken into consideration because I'm tired. As far as these men that have become pussified, I'm sorry. I have very little, if any, empathy and sympathy for them. They need to put their fucking pants on and get back to being their biology and stop this whining and complaining and dressing and whatever the hell it is that you're doing.
Yeah, but what about
get back to your DNA, damn it.
Hey, what about these feminists putting these ideas in the women's head? And if you look at these feminists these days, they're not true feminists like they were 30, 40 years ago. These feminists today, half of them are bloody lesbians with their hair cut short, right? You can see the way they dress. I mean, you only have to look. I mean, you can say,
hey, wait a minute. Just for clarification. When I found out what a lesbian was, I realized I was one too.
Yeah, okay. A person that likes other women. Yeah, I know. But the point is,
that's what the definition is.
But you can point at them and say she's wearing a men's shirt and she got hair cut like a boy, and they're the ones advocating. They're the ones talking out about against men about this. Basically, all I see is these women libs, right? These women advocates. They're actually priming. They're grooming these women to turn against men.
Yeah, but they're doing it. They're angry. They're loud. They're noisy.
They don't, because
they are
disturbingly
unpleasant, and they don't realize that the way they deliver their shit is not helping them sell their shit. Yeah. They're so annoying and frustrating. Yet you sit there and you go, you know, if you dial it back a little bit, turn the volume down a little bit, only show up maybe once every other week, so I can listen and consider your plea and your plight and whatever it is that you're complaining about. I mean, it just at some point, the men need to stand up and tell them to shut up. And it's for their own good, not just for our good.
God, if I did that to my wife, mate, oh, God. Oh.
Well, you know, and I'm not advocating anything other than
I know
pushback in the most firm way, in the sense of, hey, I'm gonna have to stand my ground here. You need to dial the bat and the shit down, and then we can interact. But if you're gonna come at me screaming and telling me I'm just whitey and an old guy and all this other shit,
I'm the type of person I don't argue.
No, I could be all of those things, yes, but I can't communicate with somebody who's doing this.
Nor can I. Or
who's got the volume up so high, I can't even hear my own thoughts.
That's right. Exactly right. I totally agree with you.
End of rant.
I'm the quiet one. I'm a quiet one when it's like that. Yeah. My wife gets upset with me because I swear sometimes. She thinks I'm swearing at her, and I'm not. I usually say, "Oh, for F's sake, be quiet." Oh, you know, and that's how it gets me. I don't swear at my wife. I never swear at my wife like that. But it's enough. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not just saying my wife at present, my ex-wife. I mean, yeah, well. Mate, yeah. After a while, you kind of get worn down, you know, and you wear down. I'm the type of person, I'd rather go to the bedroom and be quiet, out the way, out of sight, out of mind. You're not a target. It's everything, mate. And that's the best way to be. No one should play tennis when there's going to be no winners. You know what I mean? You're going to hit the ball to me, and I'm going to hit it back to you, and you're going to hit it back to me, and it goes on. You'll say things that's going to hurt me. I'll say things that will definitely hurt you. So it's best to say nothing. It's best not to play tennis. But if you want to talk without shouting, sit down and tell over a couple. So now, what's wrong? It's called communication. You know.
Well, but they're going to tell you that's what I've been doing is communicating to you. I've been telling you what you need to know. I've been telling you what you want to say. I've been telling you how you need to act.
And women are getting our perspective now.
And you're going,
women, you're getting a men's perspective, a male's perspective.
Well, it's a relationship perspective because it happens both ways.
That's right.
But the only point that I was making was right now in the dumpster fire that we're all dancing around and avoiding, there seems to be a large percentage of an estrogen-based, batshit crazy, overly medicated group that is pushing a lot of this shit.
A group, that's
and it's not thought through. It's reactionary. It is
the plumber.
it is not only unhealthy, but is extremely unproductive. Because if you look at the stuff that has been raised by women and their success rate of getting whatever they raised adjudicated in their favor, it's not very good at all. It's bad. I mean, Roe v. Wade is one of the obviously the biggest and most prominent, but I mean, the lack of having clear language and being able to agree on definitions and then having a discourse about what the issues and perspectives are, that shit ain't happening. Everybody, they're all going for the jugular. It's like, well, you can't possibly think that. You can't. You're clearly something evil.
I was actually reading
do you think that maybe your perspective could be coming from the cadre of prescription medications that you're on?
On the global sense, Rob, it's actually proven 85% of divorces, the application is put in by the woman.
Yeah.
Not the man.
Well, did you see that study that said that the leading cause of divorce was marriage?
And you know what? Maybe
if you think about it, maybe marriage should be like a driver's marriage. So maybe we should put some kind of break on the whole marriage thing, because it doesn't seem to be working out real well.
No.
What's wrong with that model?
Or like a driver's license, renewable every 5 years. Or say 4 years, maybe 3.
Well, I think the term limit thing is a good idea across just about everything. Everything needs to have nothing can have a position of eternity, or until one decides to give it up. That's sovereignty. That's, the rulership shit that our ancestors fought for and created this incredible place. Despite all of its faults, it's still the best fucking place on the planet, especially with a shit show going on around the world now. It's screwed up, but find something better. Let me know.
What is funny? Anyway.
Nice.
Well, it's getting to that time of the day, my friend. It's we've been on 2 hours and 55 minutes. Well,
I thought we were just getting started. Isn't this ready for the after show?
Well, mate, if you want to keep going, you can. I'm fine. I'm fine. My wife's not here anymore, so I've got all day.
Well, lucky you. I mean, so you not only have nothing to do, but if you're gonna go play, you got to play with yourself, right?
Yeah, well, I won't say that. Well, maybe. I don't know. Mate,
well, anyway, so Joe, what do you think of my trend analysis that I've tried to dance around and not get in trouble with?
I know Joe won't answer this.
Come on, Joe, tell me what you think.
He'll stay out of it. This one, all right.
Well, being raised in the Midwest with a strong father and mother figure, they both had their equal duties and they worked and meshed really well together. And
that's good.
If you're in a relationship and you want me to be your knight in shining armor or the king of the castle, then you have to allow me to fill that role.
That's right.
If you want me to be weak and feminine and worry about your feelings all the time and hug you. And, I mean, there is passionate stuff, but I mean, if you want me to be that wishy-washy person, then don't come back to me later and say, hey, why aren't you sticking up and being the man of the house? Well, because you're not allowing me to fill that role. And I'm not going to until you do your role the way you're supposed to be doing it.
Fair enough. And
so you have that sounds, it's very traditional. And it's I think a lot of tradition is
sounds honest
mistaken as the nature and the habit of the way that the organized collective, whether it's the individual or a group of individuals, when an individual or more than one start to work together, they become a self-organizing collective. They organize by choice, right?
Are we doing a 5-hour show?
And those characteristics are just innate. They're a part of the nature. When you push those characteristics in different extremes and different directions, you have to at least plan for something that you didn't think was coming. Just being understanding that I have no idea what's going to happen here, but we kind of think it might go this way. We're going to push it that way and see what happens.
Well,
just like you were talking about business and government. Well, we grew up where it was a man's world because the mother or the female stayed home and was a nurturer and a mother figure and took care of the kids in the household.
Mm-hmm.
So we set it up, or the men set it up to be a man's world. And that was been the model forever. Well, now all of a sudden we have this overlapping and intertruding and females wanting to fill the model or the hole in the model that they were not trained for their whole life. And then all of a sudden they want to reassemble the model. Well, guess what? It doesn't all mesh well and pieces start to fall off. And then they complain about, well, when we change this, why isn't it working? Well, because you deviated from the original model.
Yeah. And you didn't think it through, the consequences of your actions. You went for the immediate emotional satisfaction and fulfillment and missed the fact that maybe this isn't a good idea. Did you think about it? Do you think this is going to end up where you want it to? And that's one of the, again, a characteristic that I'm seeing in this trend. There is little regard for systems and processes. It's goals. And
one of the things
it's immediate fulfillment of some kind of emotional or visceral need that has a noble and altruistic proclivity for it. So why doesn't everybody get the wonderfulness of this? And it gets wrapped into this big blanket of emotional intensity. And the next thing you know, they're springing it on you, and you're going, I didn't see that coming. And you're trying to figure out, how the hell do I bob and weave through this? And so we're seeing a lot of that. And I think what's happening is there's a common frequency of a resonance of common sense that's happening among all of the energetic beings, all of the carbon-based units, feminine, estrogen, testosterone, masculine, or whatever. There's a vibe that's kind of running through it. Everybody's going, well, yeah, okay, I feel that vibe, even though I don't know what it is. And that vibe is like the innate universal bullshit meter. So that what's happening is the bullshit that is people are being just pounced on and just, pummeled with. People are going, wait a minute. I'm having a hard time sorting all this out. Could you go back to this and clarify that? Because I think I don't agree with that, but I'm on your team, so I want to agree with it. But help me figure out what it is that I'm not quite sure about even though I want to be sure about it.
Don't you
There's
think?
there's more of that going on. So the tsunami of shit is there's more filters that are getting cleaned and recalibrated, and new frameworks with which people are using to parry the data, to sort the data, to filter it out, and figure out what is it that I want to make sure I pay attention to, and really, more importantly, the shit I don't want to pay attention to, because there's more shit not to pay attention to, almost more than there's shit to. But really, the shit to pay attention to is where the nuggets are.
Well,
that's where the gems and the wonderful shit is.
Don't you think one of the major problems could be too that it's trust in a relationship? The trust, where in a relationship you've got to have your own identity. In other words, you need your own time to go. You can ask your partner to come along. You can come along, or you can stay home. But I need my time for myself, and my time doesn't mean to say I'm going to get up to mischief. It means that I just need to do the things I want to embrace and enjoy. You know, don't necessarily want you there all the time, but if you want to come along, fine. But you know,
I don't know, Terry. That sounds
trust.
Terry, that sounds awful selfish. I think you're being a little too me right now.
No, being honest. Being honest. I mean, I bet you if you say to a woman, look, love, you go out the girls, whatever night you want to go out, don't worry about it. I'll look after the kids and whatever, right? That's your time with your friends, blah, blah, blah. I trust you. And this is what the trust has to be there. I mean, you've got to allow, I mean, this is the problem. We are fed with so much crap, as you're saying, we are indoctrinated to believe men cheat or women cheat or this, that. And it puts a doubt just because they're 10 minutes late home. Why aren't they home on time? Why are they in an accident? Or are they doing something they shouldn't? And it's the trust. If you really, really trust somebody in a relationship, you actually gain respect.
Well, yeah, but the problem, Terry, is that trust has lost to temptation.
If you trust somebody and you know your partner and you're married to the right person, you shouldn't have that.
Well,
you shouldn't be guilty. You shouldn't be guilty until it happens. You know what I mean?
But look, I've known several people that they were just so into each other and so like there would be no way, and then all of a sudden there was like, well, that way showed up out of nowhere. I didn't know I was going to be attracted to that person,
and I
didn't know that I was going to feel this way, and it happens on both sides.
And so, I agree with Freaky Geek.
So,
you know,
trust, and the problem is now that there's this faux identity and bullshit relationships, made up fantasies of crap that people have conjured up in their own heads from playing too many fucking video games and staring at their phones. They have lost any contact with the ether that is around them, that they exist in. That was, if it wasn't there, you wouldn't have that phone or that screen or whatever it is you've got plastered onto your forehead. You wouldn't be immersed in it, because the ether is why that exists. And if you're just going to take that for granted in all of its glory and its wonder and relevant, not only relevance, but reason that we have the reality we do, then you're going to miss about 90% of the opportunities that you're going to have in your life. You're not going to be awake and paying attention when the cool shit comes by, because it will. It does. That's its nature, its habit. It does that. So the bolt from the blue, the inspiration, the thought, the idea, the experience, the holy shit, how awesome is this? That is what the power of living life is all about. You have those, you know that it's going to happen. And even in the knowing that it's going to happen, the knowing is it happening. And it's like this self-feeding, you know, when they came out with The Secret, they did the whole law of attraction thing. It was like, really well done. Great stuff. But you skipped a step. And if it's even can be called a law, and like attraction, is that really a law, or is that just a habit? But before that is the notion and idea of intent. When you intend something, then you attract it. And that intention could be conscious, subconscious, not knowing you're doing it, and or knowing that you are totally doing it. So the intention, the attention of intention will create the attraction. And that is the simplicity and the power of the way it works. So all of that's been manipulated, mangled, and messed with to come up with this just unbelievably confusing crap in the conversation of consciousness. And women are the ones that are taking it the hardest. They've been assaulted with all of this drug and allopathic.
They are, look, 100% they are victims in this. They are. And the men suffer along with it.
Well, the problem is the men got beat down too, and now there's a bunch of pussified penises that are out there that can't deal with these overly masculine vaginas. I mean, it's like the battle of the genitals, and the men have just been pummeled.
Yeah.
I am sick and tired of seeing these emasculated men walking around like. I mean, it's like
they're not riding. They're not riding bloody Harley Davidsons anymore. They're running around on e-scooters and skin tight skinny jeans.
Yeah,
and,
I can't do that stuff. I find if it's not low and loose, then it's not for me.
You've got to have room to swing, as they say. I reckon.
There's truth there.
Yeah.
So, Gerald, what do you think? Was I spinning off the guardrails there?
No, you were right on.
I reckon so too.
I mean, I don't know. Society is changing so much. I don't even think the people that even started can keep up with it. It's just out of control now because everybody's taking their own way and dividing off. And I think that's why you have all this cancellation and shutting everybody down is because you're all off on one. It's almost like when the church is split off. Oh yeah, this is a good idea. Then all of a sudden, well, I don't agree with that. So then they go this way. Then they don't agree with that. Then there's another split off, and that's exactly what's happening in society now.
It's funny.
This is a great idea. Let's go with it. Then all of a sudden they get to a point. It's like, well, no, I don't agree with that. We're not doing that. So then they go a different way.
And you notice they don't do a whole lot of thinking about it. Right? They just they get together and go, okay, pew. And out they go. And it's like, wait a minute, slow down, slow your roll there, girls.
Yeah, but it's again the segregation. I mean, you could have in a town, you could have 6 different churches, and they call themselves Christians, and they all believe in Jesus, but not one of those churches will mix with the other one. My church is better than your church. It's not about church; it's about your praise and worship, isn't it? Who you praise and worship to. It's not about, and they segregate themselves.
They've turned it into a play field, and there's a bunch of teams, and everybody picks a team, and they go play with this team, and then they get traded or they get kicked out or something else, but there's all these teams to go play in, and they pit the teams against you. It's kind of like the Hunger Games. They pit the teams against each other and call, this one said shit about you, Gryffindor, fucking you. And it's like off it goes.
It's just like everything else. Once allow man in and manipulate the laws and rules, then you have nothing sovereign anymore.
That's right.
So the sovereignty has been hijacked and just stomped on. When at the end of the day, the most important thing is our individual sovereignty, right? Because that individuality of the sovereign self is actually the base with which you navigate the reality you inhabit. So, and you're doing it by default. It's like one of the words that they weaponize the shit out of us is judgment. You cannot pass judgment. You cannot judge. You are not worthy to judge. That is a sin to judge. When in reality, that's the way our minds work. We make a judgment on the data input we get and how we analyze it and what we're going to do about it every second of the consciousness that we're awake.
True.
To judge is one of the most important skills that one can develop throughout life, because you're going to be making a lot of judgments going down there, and you better hope you're good at it.
That's
So,
true.
but they've weaponized it and said, well, you can't do that. You can't pass judgment. It's not your responsibility. Thou art not worthy. So don't be doing that judge thing, because we'll come and judge your ass for judging.
And the same people are judging.
Wait a minute.
And the same people that are telling you they're judging.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. And the same people are judging you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Contradiction to itself. It's ridiculous. But I mean, society is fucked. I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, it's certainly, there's certainly dumpster fires everywhere. But the point that, as much of the critical analytical work that I've been putting into trying to define the mess that I see some really good shit on the other side. It seems like this is unnecessary, disturbing, dirty, disgusting, demented set of bullshit that we're going through across the board. It's not just one thing falling. It would be one thing if it was everything else was great, but our financial system took a shit, or everything was great with technology, but the banking system wasn't keeping up, or the real estate, or whatever it is.
Now you're getting
manufacturing, whatever it is.
Now they're trying to take money away from us, and now they want to go electronic. Hey, so are we going to go back to the bartering system, like garage sales and that? So I've got something you can have, and I'll take whatever you got, or what? I mean,
oddly enough, the whole my technology model that I've built is based on the blockchain, which is the barter model. So it's using tokenization to have sovereignty over the content, and then having the ability to freely exchange that with whatever individual or entity one wants based on agreed upon terms between the two entities. And then it is locked and it's secured in perpetuity. So it's an always record, and you can never go back and change it. You can always you can only go forward and add to it. Well, if I had that kind of record keeping of the transactions and the interactions between all the different people that I've done any kind of exchange of value with, that would be grande tatas, because there's the transparency is its visibility. So the auditability, and this is the thing, people don't realize how much data you can't check. You can't look at the data on the majority of the things that are important to our society and see how it works, and if it's working correctly, if there's any broken parts in there. The Federal Reserve is probably one of the most famous, and they've never been audited. Nobody's ever gone in and said, how did those books work and where'd this money go?
Yeah, actually, they're a private organization. They don't belong to the government.
Yeah, they're not a part of the government. They're a private organization.
My issue is, what about, say, an ex-vet, legalist, right, living on the street, begging? What's he got to do? Now have an FPOS machine? And what about the busker, the person there playing guitar in the street, or the guy doing the clown thing for a living in the street, What's he got to have? Does he got to have an FPOS machine now? Yeah.
No, in the new model, everybody will just have a digital ID, which is not from the government. It's independent, but you have that now. In fact, you've got a shitload of them.
But how are you going to pay
everything that we do in life, banking, buying stuff online, paying bills, all that shit, it's already digitized. It's just not centralized for the ownership of you. It's spread across everybody else's system. Which, by the way, when your data sits on somebody else's system, they own it, not you.
Hey, but I'm getting
so you've got to keep those passwords.
How can you give somebody, here's $5, go and get a bloody meal? You're not, unless they've got an FPOS machine. You know what I mean?
No. It'll be totally different than that. It'll be very easy.
Well, so okay, wait. You buy a sandwich, you give it to him.
Well, I think we'll end up in the Star Trek kind of model where there is no money.
you just go and get a feed from a replicator type thing and just move on.
There isn't money now. It's just a imaginary system.
It's all ones and zeros.
I very rarely use money, but I do have cash in my wallet. It's not a great deal, but yeah. But I mean, but then again, what happens if, say, I want to go and see a bloke on the street and he looks really destituted, you know, and I want to give him $5. There's $5, man, you know, or somebody's playing a guitar, you know, or something like busking or something, you know, because he can't get a job. He wants to make a living. So, you know, people just can't throw a coin in his hat anymore. What are they going to do? Throw their credit card in? You know, there's my credit card, man. You know, I'll swipe it. Yeah.
Well, it'll be something like that, but not what you think, and it'll be very easy. The problem, or at least the issue that I have trying to explain what I see as the really positive future ahead of us, is that the technology to enable the sovereignty, the bartering, the exchange, the tip, the toss, the gift, whatever it might be, that's all in place right now. And the sovereignty of it and the security of it is undisputed. In the crypto world, there's never been a token, i.e. a cryptocurrency, that has been hacked. The only thing that's been hacked is wallets and exchanges. But the actual ID of the data block, which is what blockchain is impervious. And it's a sequential stacked relationship. So the architecture is brilliant.
Well, I can see some good in it too, like things like the drug cartel, you know, I mean, they're selling drugs on the street, you know, I mean,
come on, you don't think these guys have crypto banks? They've got Bitcoin, they got XRP, they got those guys they're already
transaction. They got to show a transaction for a product. What are they going to say?
No, you don't. Not with the blockchain. You don't have to show shit other than I have an ID.
Are they going to work with the blockchain? That's the $6 million question.
What is that?
Are they actually going to use the blockchain?
They're using it now.
To what degree?
A shitload.
Well,
so the idea, see what
I've been listening to your version of it, which sounds good, right?
What I'm telling you is how not only how it works, but how it's going to be a transformative disruption in the future as we transition into all this.
Magic word.
But the key points are that it handles the sovereignty. It gives you control over you. One of the shows I did in 2020 was your currency is your identity.
Mm.
So who you are, and that's what's happening now, and people just don't realize it, but it's going to be even more finite and more controlled in that your insurance, your Social Security, your government, your house, your your bank, all that shit, you don't control. The people you engage with control it. This new model will be you control it. In fact, you will become your own bank because everything that is of any value that's assigned to you or created by you, that's what you want control over. If it's a job, getting a paycheck, if it's something you create and sell, if it's an asset you have that is the value is going crazy, you don't have control over that shit right now. It's an illusion. It's scattered across 100 different systems. This new model where it'll be, this is my blockchain. This is my car, my house, my stuff, all my art, all my valuable, all my whatever is on my blockchain that I have control over, that only I have access to, that only I can decide how much of what is given to who for why. That is the fundamental change that we're going to see with the technology that's going to enable this barter thing. Under this new model, I can do it right now. If you've got a wallet, I can send you money with no transaction fee. Nobody is going to go in there and take a piece of what I'm sending you.
Mm.
It's peer to peer.
Yeah, but that's what they're trying to do, though, isn't it? That's how they say.
Well,
Because
that's what they are doing. That's the way it's set up now.
If the banks take over totally, blockchain's not really going to get a bloody go because
No.
Do you think the world banks are going to give up their commission?
Yes, because they are going
have
to.
to.
No, here's the point, Terry. The banking, the financial system that we are currently using, and the banks and the intermediaries and all the institutions in the financial system is going to change dramatically. You won't have a Chase Manhattan. You won't have a Federal Reserve. You won't have the Central Bank of Europe. You won't have any of the stuff that's there right now.
Well, the bank says it is now collapse every few years anyhow. So
well, that's my point. They're doing it by themselves.
Yeah.
All we have to do is make sure that there's a system that will replace it, that will enable us to keep going. And that's what this is. People don't, they hear the headlines and, the talking heads and the pundits and all that shit go on and, drone on about what they think this is, the AI revolution, the block of the
so
crypto,
everybody draw your cash out of Citibank and all the other banks because they're going under.
Well, they are eventually, but I mean, they'll do it on their own. We're already seeing. We saw that with the Signature Bank last year, and what was the other one that went south? And then Stank Command Fried got his ass handed to him with 25 years, and apparently they've been able to recover some of this money because crypto's been on a fucking tear over the last couple of months, and it looks like, again, trend analysis, and in my opinion, it's going to keep going north, and it will get to the places that a lot of people, have prophesied about. I mean, it's going to be the model that will enable the barter between a value between two sovereign individuals.
Yeah,
and that's going to change everything.
Look, I love the idea of bartering. I reckon we should go back to bartering. I mean, I'm talking about too. I'm not just with the cryptocurrency and all that shit. I'm talking about with actual tangible. Like I've got carrots. Do you want to swap some carrots for some cauliflower? I mean, literally go back to bartering. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see communities start having their own chicken runs, start growing vegetables. This is my generation. I was raised up with that. We used to have a chicken coop at the back of my house in the middle of the city. When we wanted to at the back 1,000 square meter block the house is built on, and we got this massive big chicken coop at the back. 30 chickens running around dropping eggs every day. You know what I mean? And then we had our veggie patch. All the chicken poop went on the veggie patch. And we recycled everything. You know what I mean? And we had homemade, grown vegetables. We had chicken every week.
Well, you can do that now. You just have to choose that lifestyle and be ahead of the curve.
No, this is where you're wrong. You can't
because
you can not in Australia can't, because we have what they call the egg marketing board. We've got their marketing boards for potatoes. We've got a marketing board, and you can't do it. They won't allow you. It's against the law.
Well, you need to either vote those laws out, vote the fools out, or get the fuck out.
You're allowed to grow capsicum. You're allowed to grow a garlic. You're allowed to grow a few other basic, anything tangible to eat, or chickens. You can have up to if you're not living in a city area or a town, as like if you're living on the outskirts of the city, right? You're allowed up to, I think it's 6 chickens, no rooster. Not allowed to have a rooster.
The only places I've been that restricted animals, as far as having them and growing shit, was living in an urban city, LA, Chicago, Atlanta. But when I had places outside of those main urban, in the suburbs or rural, having whatever you needed to do, whatever you needed to do, grow, raise, farm, whatever, if you had the room and the wherewithal, you could do pretty much anything. But then they started doing this stupid shit where it's like, well, you can't collect the rain that comes off of your roof into the gutter, and that's a violation of city ordinance. Like, did you, okay, so you own the clouds? Help me out here. What tax am I paying that pays for that service? Because nothing that any municipality does is done without the support of the constituents and the consumers, which is where the self-organizing collective is going to completely change all of that.
Yeah, and you buy your own water tanks. You buy your own water tanks, but then again, so they say you can't put up the water tanks because we don't approve it on the bylaws.
Well, that's another reason to go find your own plot of spot and,
Why not?
and say, screw it. I mean, that's what Gerald and
You better
Jane
go
are
out and out back and make your own land out there and do whatever you want. Either that or come to the States or somewhere else. You got to make that decision yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you go out the country, there's no problems. But in suburbia, right, they've got all these bylaws. You can't do this and you can't do that. I mean, we've got this supermarket called the Spud Shed here. And all the local produce guys, you know, small farms, send all the stuff there, and they're cheap as. This particular guy got into trouble because he was selling, was it 5 kilos of potatoes for less than $1, right? And the potato
like
market,
good deal to me.
And they took, and the potato marketing board took him to court, and he stood there and fought him and said, they're not from these are from private bloody farmers around the area. That has nothing to do. They grow their own shit. They're not part of any association, and they sell it to me, and I sell it to the consumers. And that's how he makes money. He sells different products. He gets tomatoes that way. He gets onions and other vegetables, and he sells them cheap. I know you can buy a 10-kilo bag of onions or what if you want for about $5. You know what I mean? Oh, it may not be $5. It could be $7 now, but it's still bloody cheap. You know what I mean? But
yeah. That's one of the reasons I go to Sam's Club. I mean, we do have a farmer's market around here, but I tell you what, the brothers over at Sam's, they are killing it with bringing in the bulk shit and good stuff. Well, I found that their brand Members Mark is right up there with everything else that you would pay, you know, the top dollar for, the brand names or whatever. But they got a serious butcher shop over there, and the ribeyes and the 90% ground beef. Oh my goodness. I mean, you can't beat the deal, and it's really good meat. And then they do these roasted chickens that are just roasted to perfection, and it doesn't matter the size; they're all $5.
Hey, you got one for you, mate. What do you call a woman with a T-bone steak on her back and 10 sausages? Barbie.
You could have left that one upstairs where you found it. Oh God.
Well, I think that's a good note for me to leave on.
Yeah, I'm with you there, brother.
Oh well, okay. See, just meant to blow the bubble, eh? Burst the bubble. I don't know. Okay, guys, and everybody, thank you for joining us today, or I should say, or it's evening for you guys, or afternoon here in Australia. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and come again. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, please. And Mr. Bauer would definitely like it, and so would Midwest Night Watchers would like it too. So, hey, yeah, we're a family around here, mate.
We like being tickled.
Yeah, we do. I definitely like being tickled. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us. Have a good one, Robert.
Or you have insomnia, make sure you come over to our channel and watch our orbs and field and whatever else appears in our live camera, because we just started our 24 hours, 7 days a week. So I'm going to be adding music to it. So if you want to just relax and watch our view, and whatever you see, and let us know.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm checking it out.
Yeah. Oh, so actually, I've already have. It's good. I like it.
All right, guys.
Okay, Robert. Hey, everybody, don't forget to go to Nexus Netcast. Hey, that's where Robert is, and he's got all the best music there too. So he'll lead you in the right direction.
Come on over and tickle me too.
Yeah, we all like to have a little tickle now and then, don't we? Okay, everybody. Catch you later.
All right.